You work so hard. You show up every day. You do what's expected of you. But deep down, you know the truth. One paycheck shouldn't decide how your life turns out. But what if your evenings meant progress? What if your weekends built freedom? What if your laptop became more than just a screen? This isn't about quitting your job. It's about giving yourself options. While others scroll, you start building. Quietly, consistently, and on your own terms. No pressure, no guessing. Just a clear system you can run after work, before work, or whenever life gives you a turn. That's what Goldmine on hustlesafrica.com is for.
Tuesday.
Haikuzo makasi ni watafute uongozi pamoja wasitafute.
Kweli una maana gani? Una maana wewe ni binadamu ya mavi ya kuku.
Mashamba yetu harambe.
Nguruwe kujikanga na mafuta yake na Afrika itakwisha.
Padani ya gosho ngai no mwega naende shode.
Wakati hiyo ilikuwa ukisema ngwe ndani ngwe.
Nimerudi hapa, yale majina yote makubwa ambaye baba alikuwa amenipatia wameninyang'anya yote, lakini nataka kuwauliza, mnaniona bado niko na masikio, si ndio? Kichwa niko nayo, miguu ninayo. Ajua wameniambia vijana leo, walisema sasa niwache kuitwa SG, wanataka kunipea ingine inaitwa HE. Unajua HE? Unajua HE?
Natuumiza, si kama wanabiashara wadogo. Tunataka change. Kila kitu, basic needs zimepanda juu, mafuta imepanda, bado naendelea kuimpose tax tu.
Sisi manzi hata sasa hata huwezi kaa na mtu wako na mtu makwao jo akakae na mkoro wake, unacheki vitu kaa hizo.
Unaogopesha vijana kuoa.
Bwana.
Keja kulipa ni shida, unapata kwenda kupiga shopping kwa duka bado ni shida. Yaani kila kitu imekuwa tu juu. Enyewe reza man, kama mali huko, utusikize.
Unajua venye natufanya, uongozi mbaya, jua KRA, unajua mali unasunda doa tunashindwa. Siku gani utaitumia KRA? Acha ni hiyo si rada, watu wanaumia hapa.
Yes, good evening people of the internet. I hope you people are doing quite okay, just like myself here in the studio. So my name is not Jagero, my name is Tricia Wayua, and of course I will be keeping you company from now all the way to 9:30. And of course in this company I am joined by Senior Odoyo Owidi. I'm also joined by Dr. Peter Mbae and also Jeff Wesley. So tonight we seek to answer whether the broad-based experiment is a success or a failure. The broad-based government, which was, of course, was born from the cooperation between the president, that is William Ruto, and ODM party, after the 2024 Gen Z protest, it was presented as a solution for the national unity, stability, and implementation of reforms. But nearly 2 years down the line, people are still asking questions whether this broad-based has strengthened governance in the country or it has weakened democracy. So that is what we seek to answer tonight. But before we get to that, of course, we have some political temperatures that we need to look into. And you just heard of a clip that we've played here, and it's talking about KRA and the tax issues. So yesterday there was some protests that took place here in Nairobi, and it was by the business community. So these people are pushing for the resignation of the Commissioner General, who was just barely appointed just like 3 months. Is it 3 months or two months ago? Yeah, so I want us to hear from you people. What do you think of this call by the people? Because they are saying, they are complaining of the issue of high taxes. They are actually not even high taxes, they are complaining of frustration. So I don't know what you think about that before we get into the main conversation. So we can start with you, Daktari. Yes, you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Peter Mbaye. I'm the Secretary for Planning and Economic Affairs at the DCP Party. I'll tell you this. The issue of telling the CG, pushing the CG to resign, is not the answer. Nothing happens in this country, in this government, without express orders from the president. So if there's somebody to do demonstration against, is the president. And since the law does not allow you to walk to State House and remove him, you simply wait for next year to remove the president, because unfortunately the president came to power believing the best way to get money is to squeeze the already squeezed, is to simply mess up businesses. Instead of expanding the tax base that we advised, he has been thinking the best way is simply to go get the people who are laying the golden eggs, and squeeze them out themselves, like go milking the cow without giving it fodder. So I'll tell you this, that is why a government that came to power less than 1 year before, because I remember that was, the elections were in August, and by June, it had already attracted opposition to the streets. Remember the Sufuria movement?
Yes.
Because of what? High taxes. You simply want to go and tax everything. So I can tell you, it seems this government has not learned. It's not going to learn until the time we take it home, because that is 2023, the first issue about taxes. Then come 2024, that is where the Gen Z revolution came, about again finance bill, about again taxes. Why? This has been a very lazy system. Go and expand the tax base. The people who are not paying 120 shillings, 50, let them pay. Please reduce the burden. You look at the people who have pay slips. You go squeeze, because already these are already there. You don't want to get tired. You squeeze them from housing levy to NSSF increase to SHA, things that are not even helping the person. So I want to say this. I'm not surprised. Let me tell you the shocker that's going to come even. We get all this from my desk as a secretary in charge of economic affairs and trade and all that. You cannot remove any container line now from the port, because KRA wants to increase the tax, the duty for importing a container line now is 2.5 million. One container. They want to increase that to 3.5 million. Without consulting anybody, without public participation, that's the information I got yesterday from traders in China who normally export containers here. There are over 1,000 containers lying at the port, because they can't clear, because they want, first of all, to increase the duty. So what you are seeing with KRA is nothing. It's simply something being told, go and milk the people that you see. Never mind, there are so many people who are not under the KRA bracket.
Okay.
Instead of getting them, you want to mix. So you have not seen anything yet. The other day I was called in Naivasha. 2 trucks full of KRA descended on a town, chasing people all over. Property tax, whatever tax. This is not there to do it. Kibaki said, tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee. The revenue rose from 200 billion of Moi era to 800 billion. It is a way you can cause people to pay whatever they need to pay without coercing them, without coming there like a policeman. That is the problem with one of the things that will be in the ballot next year is the issue of poor taxation regime.
Okay, thank you. Let's get to Senior Odoyo. Do you think the Commissioner General is being unfairly targeted for just enforcing tax laws that Parliament passed, and business are legally required to comply with that?
Attacks on members of the government is a common thing. It is a common tactic with the current opposition in the country. The only people they don't touch are those 7 CSS from the mountain. They don't touch them.
You can come closer to the mic.
So they will attack everyone that they think can make the president's government weak. Some of the things we talk about that President William Ruto has not done correctly were done in a worse way by Uhuru Kenyatta and Mwai Kibaki. The problem we are seeing in Kenya today has nothing to do with governance. To an extent which politicians come and tell you that building roads is not development, infrastructure is not development, it is just a political tool that they are using to change regime. But I want to keep on reminding them that this country belongs to all of us, and we must share its resources equitably, irrespective of which part of the country you come from. We cannot. You remember in 2023?
Yes.
Kenyans went onto the streets on 20th of March 2023, even before the PSS was sworn in. And what was the grievance? They wanted the cost of living lowered. With which budget and with which accounting officers? That tells you the double standard that is there. When we were having Moi, it was must go. Then we had Kibaki Tosha, we had Uhuru Tosha, then President William Ruto must go. And they must go for even crimes he did not commit. Even the police service that we are being told is high-handed. President William Ruto has not recruited anybody new in the police service. Not yet. His first lot are still in Kiganjo. And nobody follows the policemen into the streets to go and instruct them to commit those crimes. And as the president had promised that we are not going to allow any extrajudicial killings or abductions, anybody who attempts to do that outside the law has gone to court, including the recent death in a PSS car. So I think that we must learn to live with each other in this country. It is too small to bring vurugu inside.
Okay. Wesley?
Thank you, first of all, for having me today.
Karibu.
And, I came into this show a happy person because my party just came from a freshly minted new member of parliament. But as is nature in this country, you cannot be happy for too long. Because once you played that video that you played, if my ears served me correctly, the voice that I heard was of a young person.
Yes.
And you must understand that the young people have been one of the biggest headaches for this government, and for good reason. And when I hear state supporters of this government, such as Senior Odoyo here, 4 years into their regime still talking about Uhuru Kenyatta, it saddens me. Because I tend to think about what is the real issue that makes young people resist this government so much. Because if you look at now the question of KRA, right? The young people are currently in the age where they are now becoming self-dependent. They are now, it is when now they are getting into employment, or they have gotten into employment, they are young career professionals, or they are starting their businesses to supplement those incomes that are not enough. Because again, the pay slips that they have are meager and very weak. So you look at what a person who is starting a small, medium enterprise to supplement their income is going to face, is something like that. They face weaponization of something like the eTeam service, right? Where any expense that is not recorded properly through invoices is disallowed for income tax. And then you sit down and you wonder, these people who are operating small kibandas, laundry in our local streets, those are the people who are suffering most with that kind of regime. And you will continue seeing such occurrences because this government has not shown the effort to try and reduce the tax burden on their citizenry. And you look at them, they are continuing to raid the payslips and the business owners of this country. And it will continue being problematic because as long as we are a trust-deficient society, because the leaders at the top do not show goodwill in terms of proper management, and we continuously see state largesse. One of the things that drove people to the street was because state officials continuously showed people that we are going to show you that we have your money. And then you are telling me that someone who has been in office for 1 year has the money to go and donate 3 million in a Harambee. Then you come and tell me that KRA, which is a state-backed entity, is going to go further into my pocket to get more of already what I do not have. It saddens me to be a young person right now. But this is the government that we are in. And as Dr. Mbai here has rightly said, the solution is coming in 2027.
Okay. So let me ask you, because the people are saying they are being frustrated by KRA in terms of paying taxes. Do you think is it bad to pay taxes?
Absolutely not. Remember, when we hear political machinations, people assume that when you resist something, you automatically turn into a responsible citizen. Again, I've mentioned very intentionally the issue of trust deficiency in this country. You're telling us that we need to dig deeper into our pockets. Well, you campaigned on Pesa Mfukoni. And then while the current tax that we give you currently, it is not prudently managed. We only see corruption scandals. We see PPPs that are irregular. We see things that when the government is doing state projects, every state project that you see the government do, it either has false numbers. So for example, a project like, say, for example, one that the president likes is Nithi Bridge. He has quoted several different prices for it. He has continuously said that the contractor is on site. So now you're telling me that I should dig deeper and give you more taxes, and the ones that you already have, you're not prudently managing. It makes people not refuse to pay taxes, but resist the idea of paying taxes to a government that will mismanage them.
Yeah, okay. You want to add something?
We'll have a very deliberate, once we take over government next year, it will be very simple. We'll have a very deliberate policy on what I would call taxation. We must not continue burdening people because they're in the tax bracket. We'll make this thing voluntary the way Kibaki did. And one thing that we must say from the word go, when you pay taxes, you must see commensurate. People could see infrastructure, people could see free primary education during Kibaki's time. People have no problem paying taxes. As a matter of fact, I'll be willing to even check in on my system. I even pay before, if I can see, because it's a contract. If you do the terms of the contract, in terms of using my resources well, I'm obligated to pay. We are going to have, this government has no capacity to run our finances. Simply, it has shown it has zero capacity. The moment you are just there, and then 6.3 billion shillings is moved from development, going to what I would call confidential vote, so that they take it with the sacks. They put it somewhere they can be seen it to be dished out in economic empowerment programs. People, actually, I support people who are not paying taxes, and I can tell you. Let me tell you, if I like in one of my places, the border people came together in Gilgit, and they made a declaration they will not pay taxes because the roads are bad. They are meant to pay taxes to the county government so they can do roads, so their motorbikes can ride smoothly, then they can pay taxes. But where is the taxes going? I can tell you this, there will be a lot of resistance. I doubt whether this government will collect anything above 2 trillion this year. Their target is 2.7. I doubt even 2 trillion will be reached because people are tired, people are angry. You can't be asking us for money, me for money, but you go literally and pass a 6.3 billion, remove it from development, take it to confidential vote, where nobody can ask a question. The kind of privilege, the kind of theft and looting that's happening in this government, every single day towards 10th of August looks like a whole year.
So what do you mean by when you say that you will make, when you get into government, you're going to make paying of tax voluntary?
No, we'll make it simple and easy. Okay. Nobody has a problem. Let me tell you, nobody has a problem with paying taxes. Make it easy, make it simple, and then do commensurate services that Kenyans can see. We are going to free the president, for example. All these things of housing levy and all that, as much as possible, make it like. Then go to, for example, what's happening with the KRA. Come on. Go and agree with the person paying taxes. Make it easy. And then expand. I can tell you today, seated here, because we are working with experts who are already advising us on our policy interventions, that we are going to reach very soon. I can tell you this country has the capacity to collect up to 5 trillion in revenues. Right now, they hardly do 2.2. It's possible to do double that because Kenyans are angry. They are not paying because they know all this money is going to be stolen. And I can tell you this, we are going to have a system where expand so much such that everybody can pay a little. But you want to come and say, oh, you must register with KRA and all that, then please spare the CG. CG is an appointee of the president. The chairman of KRA can do nothing. The whole thing, the buck stops with the President of the Republic of Kenya. He's the one who saw with the Bible to make the burden light. And he's the one who is putting that burden. You remember the story of Saul? You remember the story of Saul, how Samuel told people. One of the things that God promised people they are going to serve under Saul is killing of the young people. You can see the Gen Z are being killed. It's in the Bible. The other one is, of course, high taxation. You can see what is happening in this government. Whatever things that Samuel, warned Israelites, King Saul is going to do to them, is what is being done by this government. But now the solution is coming. We have 1 year. There's nothing much we can do. I mean, police are all over the place, gun trotting and all that. This is a Gunism state. But we have hope. It's only 1 year. I mean, in August to August, it's just going to be short 7 months. Then we're going to see the issue.
Okay, Senior, you want to rebuttal? Please do.
We are not going to make a debate of rebuttal, but let us talk about facts. Everywhere you go, you hear people talking about policies, taxation, rule of law, change. All those are called glittering generalities in political propaganda. There is nothing that they can tell you that was wrong in the budget that maybe John Methu talked about in the National Assembly. Nothing. In fact, the things that are known to have been mentioned in the National Assembly on the budget were all turned out to be fake. They were written nowhere in that budget. If there was anything really wrong in that budget, if there was any overtaxations in that budget, we would have had it during the debate in Parliament, because that Parliament has very many people who don't agree with President William Ruto. And they could have articulated the issues in that budget which are offending the people of the Republic of Kenya. So anybody coming to talk about the budget, the policies, is simply somebody who wants to take over power using things that are public. But then also, when President William Ruto came to power on the basis of Pesa Mfukoni, he did not say he's going to wave a magic wand that will put money in your pocket. No. Policies, development must be put in place so that in the long run, people have money in their pocket. People have money in their pocket because we are coming to power at a time when hunger was 250 shillings, except for subsidy. When fuel was 250, save for subsidy. And nobody talked about that. And when you remind them that, they want to tell you, forget about Uhuru went 4 years ago. What I'm talking about, let us use the same marking scheme that we used for Kibaki, that we used for Uhuru. When you talk about corruption all the time, corruption have names. During Kibaki, we even had one which had a baptism name and a name, Anglo-Leasing. Uhuru had all sorts of corruptions, including the National Youth Service, including the purchase of medical equipment that were purchased for health, which was already devolved. So the thing you are seeing today is just tribal dominance. Some people want to dominate others. They don't believe other mothers can have children who can be presidents. President William Ruto was with us here since 1992. Uhuru was also with us. Uhuru chose Ruto as his running mate because he was the best that he had. He told Ruto, my brother, kumi yako, kumi yangu. And that time they had already been friends for a long time. Ruto had been with him for all that time. As soon as the man from the mountain secured his second term, Ruto became a tanga-tanga. Not because Ruto was bad and Raila was good, because it is only through Raila that Uhuru was going to return to government as an executive prime minister through the BBI. Let's tell Kenyans the truth, and the truth will set all of us free. So coming here to tell us how Ruto is overtaxing, and we didn't hear, even if the government has majority in parliament, that minority, we want to hear what they said. That minority that was there. They said nothing other than putting in things in the tax bill that were really not there. And then inciting their people to protest. Then they keep on telling us, oh, Ruto is killing young people. Is there any person younger than Baby Pendo that you know about that has ever died from a policeman? Is there? So don't tell us about killing young people. When Rex Masai died in the streets, that moment he was lying in his blood. Uganda House was on fire. Ibrahim House was on fire with traders inside. Parliament was breached. And the police standing orders used the gun to defend life and property. Your life, the life of other people, and the property of Kenyans. Not from Somalians, from other Kenyans who have gone. One of the key sections of the law that is being misused in this country is the Constitution, chapter 37, that you have to go to protest peaceably and unarmed. And then they come telling you, oh, they were just carrying phones and flags. Carrying a phone and a flag does not exclude carrying anything else. It does not exclude you from breaching parliament, a protected area. It does not exclude you from setting Uganda House on fire. It does not exclude you from stoning the policemen. When you do all that, that protest become illegal from the beginning. So when you come and tell us all these things are propaganda messages. They know the society in which we live in. 95% learn only through rote learning. Keep on the message, repeating it until they believe you. Even this thing, so-called abduction, they just turned every police arrest to be called an abduction. And they say even a man we are being seen arrested and handcuffs put, they come and tell us abducted. Including Tuju, I hear was abducted. Koimburi was abducted. Kianyagia was abducted.
We are coming to that. We are coming to that, yes.
But really, on that one, just in a nutshell, let's clear some things, please. The late President Kibaki, President Uhuru Kenyatta are not running government. They are not in government. We must learn to think going pleasantly and going forward. The person who has been telling us about what they have done here is President Ruto, and I will tell you this. Nobody knows more about Ruto than myself here, seated on this. True. I mean, you cannot come and tell us how hard working. I know that President Ruto has failed because whatever he promised is not what he has done. Promised 1 million jobs per year. Wapi? Said he's not going to militarization of police. That's what he's doing. Whatever he vowed to do. Said that he'll fight for a good opposition. The first thing he did was to capture parliament. Saying he'll not kill young people, all those kind of things. He is murdering young people like chicken. You know. So whatever he said, I can tell you. So you cannot over-defend President Ruto. If you want to know President Ruto, ask me. Because I know. I'm here because I know. So, please, we give President Ruto all our support. He has demonstrated without any doubt he has no capacity to govern. Let's stop that story there. Then the elections is coming next year. We'll demonstrate that practically in the ballot. Nothing personal, just business. So this issue of saying, you did this, come and ask me, I can tell you. You don't have the passion that we had for Ruto. You just came the other day here out of this broad-based conspiracy thing. We know what we know, and we are not doing this because of any bitterness. We are just telling our people, excuse me guys, I went to school to study political science and leadership. Up to the highest level, I have served this government. It's not working, it will not work. And that is why this government has to be removed. So, Kibaki, Uhuru, go back to Jomo Kenyatta and Moi, vote for. We are talking about the person who is holding the reins of power. And we are saying President Ruto, with a lot of humility and respect, has no capacity to govern. Simple. That is a very, very simple statement.
Okay.
No, Wayua. Anger is not audible, it is visible. And when you tell us to leave President Kenyatta and Uhuru, and Kibaki alone, understand that we cannot mark the same exam using two marking schemes. The marking scheme we used for Kibaki, for Uhuru, must be the same one we use for William Ruto. We are not going to accept double standards because, they are gone home and nobody is going to bring them from home to come and prosecute them. The reason why I mentioned them is to expose the double standards being used in evaluating President William Ruto.
So
I know.
What will you do about that? If you're not on the ballot where you are now, you're discussing what? You're taking time to discuss people who are not on the ballot. The person who will be on the ballot is William Ruto, and he has failed 1 year to elections. And that's what we are talking here about.
Are you done? You don't interrupt. Just wait until I finish. They are not on the ballot. I'm only using that to defend Ruto, who is going to be the ballot. That these things being used against Ruto are simply propaganda. They are simply not the same marking scheme that was used for Kibaki and Uhuru. Ruto is being done this because he's not one of them. That is the truth.
But let me ask you.
Let me answer you.
Somebody is saying that we are always talking about the tribal card, and he's saying that even the Kikuyus, they are the ones who elected William Ruto.
I love that bit. In fact, it's good you
If they were tribal, would they have voted him in?
Whom would they have voted for? We only had Ruto and Raila Odinga. And I've explained to you why Uhuru jumped from Ruto to Raila Odinga. And for that those people of the mountain, they hated Raila more than they hated Ruto. That is why Rigathi keeps on reminding you, he started differing with Ruto the day Ruto started talking with Raila. That is the truth. The truth will never be subdued in the face of gaslighting.
Wesley,
Why you allow
yes,
me to come in? You see,
please do.
The benefit of being a younger person on this panel is that I have the privilege of observation.
Yes.
What these two gentlemen might not know is that I have observed them as well differently. I used to observe Daktari here when he was MCA for Kabazi, one of the best performing MCAs in Nakuru County.
Oh, okay.
And I also used to observe Odoyo Widi when he was one of the few people who used to resist Raila in their side, Uko Kitambo, in the lead up to the 2022 elections. But what I have realized about this government as a young person, the first thing you need to realize, Senior, is that I have no advantage of looking at other governments and previous jurisdiction like you may do. My political consciousness, my tax-paying responsibility has come in the government of William Ruto. So I have no capacity to speak about other regimes that I don't know apart from a historical advantage that I may only read in books. Right now I understand, for example, the only funny thing about this panel is we were all in support of William Ruto before 2022. He served this government as presidential delivery unit, which he resigned because it didn't work. I personally campaigned at that time as the head of the national party within the Kenya Kwanza framework for William Ruto. So when we tell you that the belief and the hope that we had in William Ruto, and he has failed us more than even people who did not support him, we know exactly what we are talking about. And the people who support this government now still cannot always run behind the convenient excuse of tribalism and infiltration of protest and abduction and stuff like that. Because when I check it, when we were voting for William Ruto, we knew exactly who William Ruto was. We knew which tribe he came from. We knew exactly where he came from in terms of counties. He did not come from Mount Kenya County. So we cannot be termed as tribal simply because we are now calling out things that are pressing us from his administration. If you mismanage, it is mismanagement. Whether you are Odoyo, whether you are Karaoke, whether you are Mochache, it does not matter. When we tell you that William Ruto has disappointed Kenyans because the promises he made, that same manifesto he rolled out, he talked about jobs. He talked about raising the dignity of people who are down there in terms of the bottom-up agenda. It was not accomplished. In fact, the people who are at the bottom have become even more downtrodden. So when I hear Professor Widi here say that we are attacking Ruto because we are tribal and because we do not want other people to lead, it shocks me because the mountain itself gave Ruto 47%. And this is coming from a young person. I might not even have the benefit of understanding how Mount Kenya voted since time of independence, but I saw what I saw during the campaigns. In fact, one of the places that was the strongest support for William Ruto was then. So I get to wonder, Bono Widi, where do we go if we consistently blame everything on tribalism? Because that has been the convenient excuse for every argument that the government is leveled upon it for incompetence. For example, we keep seeing this script that you're hearing Senior here talk about. For a good person who has repeated that script continuously is the UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar. He keeps on saying, every time he's questioned as the Secretary General of the UDA party, he talks about tribalism. And we wonder, when we tell you that they are abduction, what does tribalism have to do with an abduction that has happened? He says that we confuse abduction with arrest. But the Constitution is very clear on what an arrest is. You ought to be informed, they ought to identify themselves, and you ought to be produced in court within 24 hours. I have had personal friends. My national youth leader was abducted and allegedly arrested, and she went incognito. Right? She was arrested within the precincts of a police station. But they want us to call that a legitimate arrest when people just show up, jump out of Subarus, point a gun at you and tell you to enter. What's the difference between that and the thug in the street?
So what do you have to say about this, the self-abductions that he has talked about? He cited Koimburi, talked about Tuju. What do you have to say about that?
For me, when it comes to political actors, I have no comment on political actors. Let us talk about the young people who have been abducted.
Okay.
We've seen people who have disappeared for 2 weeks, show up in court, and then give us a scripted narrative that they were hiding somewhere in a house. Well, clearly you can see this person is traumatized. This person his persona has been affected by the period he has been in silence. We had Billy Mwangi, We had a person who disappeared right from the street. We had that the Twitter guy who was taken from the street by DCI officers, and he disappeared. What happened to the golden 24-hour rule that dictates that you should be produced in court within 24 hours? But conveniently, even when Mr. Widi here will address that matter, he will not talk about what the constitutionalism of an arrest looks like. He will only start saying that abductions are being used politically, and somehow it will always go back to tribe.
It's very simple. I mean, we don't want to. Let's do this. Please, we don't want at this era to continue, I mean, consuming some state house narratives by NIS. People vote for you because they believe in you across community tribal barriers. Then you get to power, you begin playing the same card. People are no longer fools. People can see that this is a narrative by the president because he dumped and and conned and deceived this region, so he must begin now pushing them to call them tribalist because already he was helped by the same people he's calling tribalist. It doesn't make sense. Come on. Kenyans are going to shock this system. It is leaders who want to play that tribal card, not the people. The people don't know even things about tribes. But the leaders, when it's convenient for them, they want to play the card, try to isolate some part of this country. It will not work. I can tell you this, seated here today, it's going to be going to be about a year. The people of this country will come together to say no to a bad administration, full stop. All the way from Northeastern, to Coast, to Luo Nyanza, to Rift Valley, to Central, to Kisiland, everywhere. Because what we are talking about here, what is important is about bad governance. It doesn't matter who is doing it. If you are the one doing it, it doesn't matter where you come from. And if it's not about a community, it's about an individual. Let me say this in finishing. President William Ruto, whom I voted for, unfortunately, didn't have any intention of doing all those things he wrote in the manifesto. Ask me. He didn't have. The only intention he had was to get power, consolidate power, become an imperial president, kick off everybody else who was going to ask him questions, go overtake parliament, capture the state, try to interfere with the judiciary, kill young people who are opposing him, finish everybody by high taxation and all those kind of economic disempowerment, and then hope that he can mesmerize everybody, use goons, take over government next year and rule for 20 years amid a lot of accumulation of wealth. That is what was the intention of the president. Unfortunately, all Kenyans know that by now. We are all coming together in the United Alternative Government. Everybody is going to be a super alliance that will take Ruto home. Nothing personal again because we voted for him. You cannot blame me of hating Ruto. I mean, I did vote for him. I didn't campaign for him for 4 years. And I did work for him. So really, nothing personal here. So let's not go back to these old narratives here, peddled by some guys here who want to catch the eye of the president. You talk so much. The same government has sacked you. I mean, the same government has sacked you. Like Oidi here. He is talking about praising the same government, hoping you catch the eye. They will not notice you. They will not notice you. These guys are busy eating and looting. And just 0.5% of those leaders are the ones who are eating. They will not notice you, my brother.
Let's say this. Yeah, when you say you are actually attacking Ruto because of bad governance, once upon a time, people came into this country called Atur Margarian and Atur Sargasian. Please, I don't talk when you do. And then I'm going to leave this for you. You being on this show. I'm going to talk about it. So talk when you finish. I am going there because you must be brought to account. The same marking scheme used for Kibaki and Uhuru must be used on Ruto.
Talk about the issues. Talk about the issues.
Allow him to finish.
No. I am going to use history to teach you geography.
Okay, go on.
Those people came to Kenya, given Kenyan passports, given police ranks, raided media houses, and nobody went to the streets. And no media house followed them back and forth the way they have been followed. So bad governance has been there since time immemorial. So you are not going to tell. Even the use of Gen Zs to go to the streets was for the simple reason that they did not have the benefit of history. They did not know what was happening in Kenya before. They think that was the only bad one. Let us just tell each other the truth so that we are free. Telling us that Ruto did not keep promises Uhuru brought the Big Four agenda. I sat next to him in Kisumu as he launched the universal health care. It never took off. This affordable housing was Uhuru's original idea of Big Four agenda. It never got anywhere. There was to be food security. Dalana Kulalu never took off. There was to be manufacturing. Nothing was left when Uhuru was leaving office. The only thing that he left when he was leaving office was a defeated Raila. That is what Uhuru left. So we are not going to judge Ruto using different rules from the ones we used to judge Kenyatta and Kibaki. We are going to use the same rules. When you people talk about promising us 1 million jobs and they are not there, President William Ruto did not say the type of jobs. But it is on record that 640 jobs were created by affordable housing alone. Since President William Ruto took over, the people who have been absorbed in teaching, in police force, in military, in national service are already 300,000. 1 million jobs was overtaken long time ago. So because you know the people listening to you do not have those facts, figures and logic, you want to keep on rubbing into them that this guy has failed to give you the jobs he promised you. If it is keeping promises, it is Ruto who has kept his promises. And when you tell us about tribal, nobody can be more tribal than the DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua, who count things in terms of Mount Kenya, in terms of Watu wa Murima, in terms of where we come from. If Rulo was the problem, how many votes did PNU candidate get in Olkalau? He is not Ruto. So let us not be lied to. The truth of the matter is this is a tribal supremacy game being played to remove one who is not of their own. So when you tell me about some people are traumatized when they see, we have beautiful actors who would act they are crying until you also start crying. We have seen them. So those people were then collected by Citizen TV the day before Sabasaba, and they were taken there on TV to promote the Sabasaba. We know that some of the media houses have also become part of the united opposition. Let's just talk peacefully. Let's just hear each other. If they are lying, let's tell them you are lying. If they have not said the truth, let's substitute that lie of theirs with the truth that you know. But you don't prevent anybody from saying the truth.
Help me understand. Are you saying that like the Citizen TV, when they were bringing them to be interviewed, they knew they were actors?
Sorry?
Did Citizen TV know that these people were just actors?
The people who chose them to be the ones that are to pretend that they abducted knew they are. Somebody is lying, he's taken to hospital, everything checked about him is normal, but he's wearing the face of somebody who had been abducted.
He's traumatized.
He's traumatized because, you know, propaganda is a deep thing. Let me tell you, I saw today somebody had taken the photograph of a lorry carrying logs and telling us this lorry is now taking back the poles that were taken to Olkalau. If ordinary citizens can go to that extent with their propaganda, I'm telling you, a united opposition being led by oligarchs would do worse.
Allow me to just chip in. Please allow me to just chip in. You see, one of the reasons that this government has lost the people and is going to lose the next year's election is because they exist within a very thick echo chamber. They listen to their own narratives so much that they turn them into a form of their own truth. Because if I listen to Mr. Owidi here and how passionately he speaks about this thing, I get to wonder if we're living in the same country. Because one thing he has mentioned is that we cannot use a different script to judge William Ruto. But unfortunately, William Ruto has come into power when the world is different entirely, right? In those days that you're talking about, people did not have the privilege and the ease of verifying information that comes out of government. In fact, one thing that their government keeps talking about is that people think that the finance bill came with William Ruto. It is true, because as we progress as a world, the more information becomes easier to access. So the more information is easier to access, the more questionable it is. So back in the day, during Kibaki's time, when of course I was still a child and they can maybe inform me, did people understand what the Auditor General does? Did people know that there was an office that is dedicated to look at the country's finances?
Very few people.
Very few people.
Yes.
So you cannot tell me that I am supposed to mark myself with President Kibaki as much as there are legitimate things he might raise here, and I should absolve Ruto of what is going on, when I can quickly click into what the Office of the Auditor General of the Controller of Budget is saying and tell me that this government has a discrepancy here and we have lost money here. That is a very responsible way of arguing. And again, I've told you, as a young person, I have the privilege of observing what my seniors are doing. And it worries me, because when I hear Owidi here speak, I can tell that clearly we exist in different worlds. Because when he's talking about script writers and actors, are those mothers who came to the street to commemorate the Gen Z 25th day actors as well? When police just see them and they deploy LRAD weapons, I don't know if you know what an LRAD weapon is. It is a weapon that is capable of disorienting your sensory hearing at close range. When they deploy that to women who are just weeping for their children, when that woman says that President William Ruto said he would call me so that we talk about the fact that I lost my son, and he did not. He announced it in front of the television. Is that a tribal issue? How does that involve oligarchs that he talks about? It is just a very escapist way of talking. And it worries me, because President William Ruto came into power because of being oppressed. Because of a time where the government then could not listen. And he has turned and become the very same thing he fought so hard against. And it is the same weapon, it is the same irresponsibility that is going to take him home. And I worry so much for this country, because it is the question why, it is the reason why you keep hearing when the senior citizens of this country tell us Gen Z that we are hard to talk to. We think we've come up with new things, but it's because we are constantly calling out things that we see are logical. If you're telling me that the president has diverted money into a confidential budget that cannot be audited or questioned, I have to raise concern about that. What is to stop him tomorrow from taking the budget for education or for healthcare and diverting it to some place and doing the same thing? Because there is no rule governing on what he can and cannot do with the confidential budget. It's just worrying, honestly. Very worrying.
Daktari, you wanted to add on something?
I don't want to go to that again, but for information, it was 1 million per year jobs. You have no idea. You don't know.
It doesn't matter.
You do not.
You should read the UDA manifesto so that you understand.
So you understand. We are just telling you.
Because we campaign for him, we know exactly what we
know. So you come here, John Leslie.
1 million jobs for?
Per year.
In fact,
he was supposed to be creating a million jobs per year.
He had categorized those jobs. One of the places he had talked about was manufacturing. There was supposed to be 100,000 jobs in manufacturing. You can check the UDA manifesto there for his advantage. It is there.
I have seen, you see, the people who have come through broad-based, they think they have so much energy. We are looking at them and we are just laughing. You know, they don't know what they are getting into. So they have been deceived here, you know, with some stuff here and there, crapping so hard for William Ruto. And yet, you should come and get schooled from us who he is and what have been going on. So you're coming out of energy, you know, trying to defend a regime that is corrupting. I don't know where these people get this energy. But anyway, it saddens me that somebody can talk about the death, the murder of young people so casually, just because they're in broad-based. So casually. Young people lost their lives on 25th of June, 2024. On Sabasaba, 2024. 25th of June, 2025. Sabasaba, fuel protest. People have died. We don't know where they are. People have disappeared. But you talk casually because you are supposed to be seen, you know, supporting the broad-based. Anyway, we have elections. I mean, there are some people who are mentality is old. These are people we are kicking out of next year generations.
But let me ask you, Daktari, because when the president was coming in, I remember he said that he found empty coffers. So the reason why history is also important is that even the coming government, of course, they will be referring to some of the things that the current administration right now has done.
What we are saying is this. Municipal leadership and governance. You should come and say, you have found government empty or full coffers.
Yes.
What are you going to do about it? You cannot, anytime you get to a problem, you begin to say, oh, it's Uhuru who brought the current system of education. Really? So are we going to Ishawari to look for President Uhuru Kenyatta? You are the one who took over power. You are the one with the constitution. You are the one who took over the sword. So stop telling us you should only do that in the boardroom to try to think, what can we do about this? The moment you take over government, you take assets and liabilities.
And all the liabilities.
You need to move on, give solutions. Kenyans cannot wait for you to give us stories of Vasco da Gama, how he came and conquered Africa. You should come and proceed with telling us, I found this, because of this, we have to do ABCD, for example, we are ending this financial year with a 13.5. I think it should be beyond 13 trillion in debt. I pity ourselves who are going to take over the next government. I can tell you, we are scratching our heads right now to begin thinking, what are we going to tell Kenyans once we take over? But we cannot begin crying, saying, you know, we found 13 point something trillion. It is we go to those guys, negotiate with them, try to see how these loans can be taken, you know, because we cannot be going saying we're not going to pay the loans because they were taken by a government. We are the ones who are here now. One of the biggest problems, for example, where you and the next government is going to face, the biggest, is a financial mess that we have put ourselves into. Big time. So, but we cannot, I can promise you, you will be here. You'll never see me here crying about how Ruto messed the government, the whole country, and so we will continue here, you know, trying to say how Ruto messed so we are not able to serve Kenyans. We must come with solutions. That's all. Before we wind up on that, there's somebody who is saying that people have been killed. This is Raphael Warioba. He's saying that people have been killed in this country since 1963. I beg you not to stress young ones. Life is life. He's trying to compare what you said about the Gen Zs who lost their lives and even those other people who have been losing their lives.
Absolutely. And with respect to life, I have no challenge to life is life. I have zero questions that other government also committed injustices against people. But again, I have told you, generations have the benefit of fighting their generational fights. The generation of my seniors here fought for political liberation so that we can have conversations like this.
Yes.
In our generation, our fight is an economic one. A liberation of economism. Because I am looking at where we are going as a country, I am thinking, personally, as me, as a 30-year-old young man, I already know it is already messed up for me. I am fighting so that it is not messed up for my children. That is the fight I am currently in, an economic fight. And let me tell you something. What you've heard Daktari here say, that we will have no luxury to cry when we take over government. He advises the party at a high level. I advise the party on matters of strategy and policy as well. And let me tell you something that our party leader told us, because Odoyo here will talk about Rigathi Gachagua being a tribalist, forgetting that that is the experience of him. Rigathi Gachagua once sat us down and told us that if these young people who did not vote for William Ruto because they were young are going to be voters in the next election cycle, if we get them to vote for us and we do not do what they tell us, they will take us out of these offices. But because we want to be a responsible government, the first people who will have the highest responsibility of listening to the young people is you young leaders within our party. So that if things go wrong, as you're hearing Dr. Mbaye say, and it is a very profound thing, if things go wrong in the next government, the first people who will be gotten is us who are young and are not listening to the young people. So I have no luxury to start saying that William Ruto messed up the country. We have to find quick interventions so that people can see progress. But Odoyo here will sit here and tell us that we have to go back to Jomo Kenyatta and find people who he killed. We'll go back to Moi, we'll go back to Uhuru, we'll go back to Kibaki. And it is a script that I have heard from so many people within the government state, and without respect to them, I do not want to assume that these things did not happen. But you cannot bind me at 30 years when William Ruto is president, whom I campaigned for, to think about Uhuru and Kibaki. It is unfair on me, because I have more stake in this country than you, Odoyo, with. Because if nature has it, and everybody lives towards the expectancy of this nation, I have more years to live here. So I have a bigger responsibility than you.
Okay.
You know, Wayua.
Yes, please.
I do agree with this argument. Only if the people who are queuing to replace President William Ruto were not there during those people. But these are the same people who watched Uhuru Kenyatta drive Land Cruisers through protesters outside All Saints Cathedral here. I was there and I watched it. Land Cruisers through protesters who were protesting the election outcome. And they said nothing. Kalonzo Musyoka was there. Rigathi Gachagua was in existence. All these people, including Matiang'i. And when you talk about killings and deaths, please, the very people they put in front, one they went and fished from the USA, called one Matiang'i, was the one in charge of internal security when hundreds of bodies were being fished out of River Yala. He was the one in charge. And when you come and tell us that Ruto had been given time, I have told you in the beginning that these guys called Azimio, led by Uhuru Kenyatta, went to the streets in 2023 March, 6 months after Ruto had been sworn in, and he had not even sworn in his own PSS, and he had not read his first budget, and they were going to the streets with complete illegalities. And they love it to lie to Gen Zs. They tell them, you know, Article 37 gives you the right to go into the streets, but they don't proceed to read to them peacefully and unarmed. They tell them that the sovereign power belongs to the people, and it belongs to you, and you can even exercise it directly, but they don't go ahead to read to them that only in accordance with this constitution. When you begin to exercise directly, you go and ask the constitution, what are you saying about exercising this power directly? Only when you are electing a president or through a referendum, not through walking into parliament and removing the maze. That is not a way of exercising power directly. Don't cheat us when the law is written in English. And then when you come and say, during those days, let me tell you, the days of Ruto and the days of Uhuru Kenyatta are separated by the Kasarani swearing in ceremony only. So it is not ages, it is just the other day. So do not tell us like we are talking about things that happened 50 decades ago. They happened the other days. So when you tell us that the mothers who came to the streets are not acting, truly they are not acting. Somebody went to their homes and brought them to the streets. How many people have died in protest and we have never seen their mothers in the streets? These ones, Wakina Orengo went. We saw them at the home of Rex Masai. They went there and arranged for them to come to the streets to raise emotions. Let me tell you, we can see propaganda from very far, even before it arrives. There was a time there was a meeting here at the All Saints Cathedral, at a budget meeting, a day after the budget had presented to Parliament, and Mbadi's job on it over. But they are telling us Mbadi now sent goons to go and scuttle it when the budget was already read. And what was that thing doing at a church? Because they know it is in the church that would raise a lot of emotions when goons go there. Goons in this country do not belong to anybody, especially now. During Kibaki, we had goons which had names: Baghdad Boys, Chinkororo, Mungiki, Taliban, Sungu Sungu. All those goons with names. Until recently, there was one in Nakuru, I think, called Confirm. These were goons which belonged to certain groups. The ones today you just hire. If you want Luo-speaking ones, go to Gibira, look for Sama, tell him, I want 20 people for a job. They will not even ask you where, why, how, as long as you pay them. Let me tell you, politicians. Rigathi Gachagua was launching DCP in Lavington. He launched, had all speakers speak, he spoke to the end, then goons arrived. Why was the goons arriving when the ceremony is over? Just simply to use that opportunity to smear the government. We can see propaganda from very far, my dear. And then they come with very cheap grazing field argument that you see tear gas only belongs to the police, so if one was thrown at Kitengela, it must be the police. If criminals have AK-47s and they have handcuffs, those are things which you are issued as a police officer. You must return it at the end of. But tear gas, you go and declare what was used and what was unused. How many can be there in the hands of criminals? So let us have the fact that they talk more and they can rub in lies until they look like truth does not give them the leeway to lie about things that are really not true. But finally, and most important, the broad-based found me with Ruto. I did not come with them to government.
That's a good clarification. So, because you've touched on the issue of goons, let's just look at what happened in Olkalau. We saw some goons who were using Prados, and they had covered themselves with bunduki.
Yes.
So why is it that the government, the security did not arrest them?
Why have you not chosen to call them goons and not policemen in civilian clothing?
But I saw the CS Interior saying that they are going to investigate.
Yes, because for him, he doesn't know that you are calling his policemen who are in civilian clothing goons.
So why they covered themselves?
Let me tell you, they are what is called covert operations. They are people who are already planned to commit crimes there and then blame the government, because Kenyans have learned that every crime committed in this country is by the government, because the government is not one of their own. We know in this country, when politicians are attacked, instead of blaming themselves, they blame the government. Tell me, Rigathi Gachagua told Linda Wananchi not to do what? Not to step in Olkalau. When they go to Olkalau and they are attacked, instead of blaming Rigathi Gachagua, they go blaming the government. How do you explain that? Please.
Let's hear from Daktari here and Jeff. Maybe they can explain that better. They were there on the ground.
No, I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired every day.
You will be tired today.
Talking to the kind of thinking of somebody like Olivia, because I think I get fatigued. Because again, people expect to be talking more sensible things, but I don't understand why. The more he talks about his those things that he thinks are right, he gets very happy. So I don't understand.
No, because they are the truth.
He gets very excited by talking things which are old, tired, and nobody believes in them. Let me tell you. First of all, Linda Wananchi was not attacked in Olkalau. It was attacked in Nyahururu.
Okay.
Because it was a plot to come and attack Linda Wananchi, cause violence, so that the by-election can be stopped. Number two, even today we are waiting for Murkomen to tell us who are the politicians he said he knows who attacked those people who are in this church. Even today, we don't know. He has not mentioned anybody. They paraded some 3 boys there, which are decoys. You go collect people in the streets and say, you must go to court, we'll help you later. Just go and say you are the ones who are in, at O6. Because he had told us he knows the politicians who sent them. We are still waiting for that politician. On the eve of the 25th anniversary, Murkomen went on television and said he is aware some politicians are planning to sponsor goons tomorrow. He says he knows everybody where they sleep and they sleep with who. But they don't know, yet they say they know who are planning. The biggest goon in this country is the state. These are the manufacturers and sponsors of all goons. The moment, anytime you see Murkomen on TV, you just see the name goon on him. He's a beginner of all chaos and trouble that we have in this country. So, and by the way, Murkomen doesn't know. The more he talks, the more his dignity and credibility goes down. He doesn't know. Look at Saitoti. Look at Fred Matiang'i as the CS for Interior. Look at Nkaiseri. Look at John Bichuki. Look at, there's a demeanor. The composure. Every word they say means something. Because you are the most important, powerful ministry outside the after the presidency. But he talks, Gachagua, this. I don't watch him this list, by the way. I don't watch Murkomen. I can tell you, it's so unfortunate. I don't. Every time I see him on clips, I just say, because it's the same thing. He continued accusing Gachagua on violence. He is not saying anything. He's not arresting him about Olkalau. So let me say this. President Ruto promised on top of his vehicle that he will never allow militarization of police. He is now using policemen in civilian who are acting as goons. There were 2 types of goons in Olkalau. There were those young people from the neighboring counties by these politicians of 2 term in Mount Kenya. Each one had like 300, 500, 1,000, There were like 500
goons?
Oh yeah, there were 2,000 goons. I don't like calling them goons because these are my voters. These are our voters. These are our brothers. I want to call them young men who have a bad intention, who have been brought there to cause chaos and all that. Then there were 2,000 policemen. Then there were 50 black Prados with elite policemen who are hooded, and their work was simply to infiltrate police stations and introduce pre-marked ballot papers. That was a mission in the afternoon of the voting day. They came from the direction of Nyahururu. I remember I was in the command center. So so we were getting information by the minute. And so we were told 50 black Prados have just left Nyahururu. They are moving like 160 kilometers per hour. They would go and harass people, throw tear gas, go shooting in the air. They simply wanted to go, and they were told by guys, excuse me, you have come. We have seen more lethal people than you. You're not going to enter the police station. Simple. Tear gas was thrown, vehicles were broken, many people went to hospital. You had delegations that my party leader did. And they went all over in the villages. There were so many harassing women and all that. So let me tell you, I don't blame Murkomen. That's a very junior person. the buck stops with the president. Any gunshot that runs in air, it must be sanctioned by the president. So I want to say this today. It's unfortunate that, but thank God, the power of God, the power of the people, prevailed in Olkalau. Then people said, excuse me, we not only know how to vote, but also we know how to protect the votes. The young people are there, since morning up to evening. The kind of tension that was in Olkalau from around 1, because we were able to get information from their groups, the UDA group of Mount Kenya MPs, that one of them said, I have gone through all the polling centers and we are facing an embarrassment. Let us go for Plan B. Plan D, that is when the vehicles came from Nyahururu, the 50 Prados, with pre-marked ballot papers. They wanted to cause chaos and get into the police stations. People refused. Women were like, what are you doing here? A woman just walking by. No, the fear is gone. A woman said, excuse me, what are you doing? What are you shooting around here for? That is it. People just decided enough is enough. That is the beginning of liberation in this country. I want to thank God, because I want to thank the people of Kalau for simply helping Kenyans to know Ruto can be defeated on the ballot. That is the biggest lesson that we took. I can tell you now, the DCP party, the one-time movement in this Kenya, everybody else have known that it is possible to defeat William Ruto. He stole Mbere, Magarini, Marava, everywhere else, and Muru Dikil. This time around, he has faced the little people. Remember, all Kalau, for you this is very important. Those were the Mau fighters. The Mau war was fought in that Aberdare region there. Okay? Number 2, they did what they did with Tumoy, 1995, that 1 year later. They simply said, you cannot force us to vote for somebody. But number 3, all Kalau people against all odds, they voted for William Ruto. Against all kind of, the pressure that was there in Mount Kenya, between foreign Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto on the other side. They voted for Ruto. It was his bedroom. So, come on. Well, here you are telling me, I'll give you my vote for free because of love. I give you power to become president. You go use the power to steal money, put it in boxes. You think now that money you can come and buy with it? That is the reason in Olkalau. President was just begging. We helped him with vehicles, with money. And he would wait for president for 8 hours to just arrive. Look, William Ruto. William Ruto would just clear his voice and would grab. He would take a sip of water, we would grab.
2022.
That was pure love. Then, you think now because you are in power, you use the power we give you to go root money from the economy, you make us poor, so you can come and give us 10,000 each, so you can now force us to vote for your candidate. That lesson was the biggest lesson that is going to be studied in universities and in many sessions for many years to come. And you know what happened? People, when we lost, when we were defeated, when they stole the better elections, because I was there, that thing hurt me until yesterday. That's when I recovered, after we have won Olkalau. People would say, yes, we saw. That was theft. As yes, storming a police station. But then they were asking us, suppose he steals that way next year, 2027. We were not able to answer the question. Now the question has been answered. It is possible to defeat William Ruto in a Kenyan election. And that's what is going to happen next year. And that's why some two-term MPs from Mount Kenya are saying, we are going to make a political decision. Even if you want to go and do a Ruto wheelbarrow in Mount Kenya, we'll chase you there, defeat you in that wheelbarrow. There is no escape. The matter is done. So I want to say this. All Kalau taught us it is possible to try to be bribed by government with money and in kind and still say no. It is possible those goons that the Minister of Interior and his friends, or his friends normally carry around here, we have shown that we can defeat them with guns, 50 Prados, goons, police, misusing police. But I will tell you this, one day, next year, all these things happening under the watch of Mokome, he will pay for them when he is out of office. I can tell you. Oh yes, I can tell you when we form government. There's going to be a commission to investigate all these extrajudicial killings, abductions, disappearances, and use all these attacks in all the churches, including Olkalau. One day, you'll find all those policemen paraded for Kenyans to see them. And they will say, this is how we were instructed to come and do. Okay, I can tell you. Kenyans have told us, all the people who have voted this government, the people who have caused the death of young people, this time around, we are not going to let them go.
Okay.
Wayua.
Yes, please.
The people who have caused the death of the young people are those who sent them to the streets with the lies. that you can go and protest in any way you like. You can go and burn any building. You can go and breach any property. You can't breach parliament, a protected area, and expect to go free. It doesn't work like that. And remember, there were MPs inside. So let us just be honest to people. And all those things you are saying, people are listening to you. And when you come saying, oh, this minister was good, this was look at the truth of the matter, love makes you blind. You loved those people because they are serving a government you love. When somebody serving a government you hate, you don't like them even if you don't know them. And I can also tell you the spectacle of 50 black Prados, it would be still trending today. And you know, a Prado is 5 meters. And when they are moving, they must move minimum 50 meters apart. If they are doing 160, it is another story. So you know, statements people can make, because statements are like music. Have you heard musicians the way they sing? You don't want to prove those things are lies, but you enjoy the music. So the truth of the matter is that those things he has said about 50 Prados are not correct. But policemen in civilian is largely a legality in this country. It's a legal thing. Especially when...
We are not going to accept things here.
Okay.
After you... Foot of law.
I will challenge that.
No, even the court said you cannot...
Challenge when you finish, I continue.
You cannot have Prados which are no number plates. You cannot have hooded policemen. Those are state goons.
Or you have added Prados with no number plates.
They had no number plates.
Okay, I didn't see them. I'm still waiting to see one.
You know, I don't know. He talks about theories. I was there. Ask me now.
No. You are there. You are there with smartphones. That's a spectacle that would not miss the smartphones. Please, don't take me for granted. I am a very brilliant man. Then when they say that when Ruto would just clear his voice, then people would that is pure love. Love is the opposite of hate. The hate for Raila created the love for Ruto. And that is something that people must know before they tell me that when we were voting for William Ruto, we knew he was not Kikuyu. But the Kikuyu did not have an alternative candidate. That is the truth. A candidate must be credible. A candidate must be believable. You did not have any. Faced with Raila Odinga and William Ruto, they chose to go with William Ruto. That is the truth that is verifiable. And as soon as Uhuru failed with his BBI, he stopped supporting that Raila of his. He started plotting how to remove Ruto from power. That is why he financed the Azimio protests that were protesting about the cost of living, which he left where it was. That were protesting about an election in which it was finished at the Supreme Court, and he himself presented William Ruto with the sword. How did he expect these people to reverse it when the person had been sworn in? Martha Karua told us in 2007, in fact it was 2008, that we have already sworn in the president to wait for the next general election. That was Justice Minister from the mountain, a lady who changed the name of her political party from the flower to liberation. Now want to liberate Kenyans from a president they voted for. Want to liberate the Kikuyu from a president they voted for to 75%. Please don't take us for granted. Let us just talk the truth. William Ruto is hated because he's not from the mountain. And all these other people are being paid from there. Let me tell you what happens in Nyanza.
We will not allow you. Please, just say things which are truthful. You are being watched by
but you see, I have the freedom and liberty to say what I want. And when it is your time, say what you want. And I won't even oppose you. In fact, I will wait until you clearly finish. But then I will come in.
You because also, you know, you are coming from a generation that does not understand the kind of things people are going through currently.
Let me tell you. The certificate young people have, we also earned them when we were young. The ones we have as old people, they still don't have. So if there is anything to know as a young man, I already know. To know as an old man, I also know. It is now the younger people who don't know. And do you know the statistics out there? Every human being who became president below 45, 90% of them became dictators. That take home.
Let me come in on the issue of Olkalau. You see, if we're going to base ourselves around facts, we have to understand why IEBC first issued a momentous press conference with regards to the conduct of the by-election in Olkalau.
Yeah, we saw
First
that.
thing is that Ethicon went and said that they will not allow super agents. You have to ask yourself, where did this issue of super agents come? It's because in Mbeere North, that is when there were people walking around as super agents from government. That is how you saw the CS Roko go into a polling station and play those games that he played then. So this time he had to make sure that there is not a repeat of that. Another thing that he said is that there will be all police officers. This was a directive that was given, that all police officers that will be involved in the polling station will have to be uniformed and they will have to be recognizable and identifiable. But what did we see? We saw people in balaclavas. And let me tell you, the court has pronounced itself on this matter, that police officers should not be covered up to their faces. They should be able to be identified. Those people who are being covered up are just state goons, as we call them. And let me tell you, Mr. Owidi here, I've realized when you debate a government agent, they are conveniently blind when they are responsible for something. Every time you tell them that this happened, he's talking about Prados. There is a video online going right now of people coming out of Prados, because these Prados were not going in one area. They were very coordinated in different areas. Look at the attacks that were going on in AC polling station.
Do you confirm they were 50?
They were 50. Even, in fact, there were 50 and above. I can tell you, there was an attack in AC polling station, Huruma polling station, Nyadundo polling station. And when you look at this polling station, they are some of the biggest in terms of votes.
They had much 10 of them.
Yes, and the idea was to try and sway the election in the major polling stations in Olkalau. And it is because they had realized from the exit polling in the morning that the matters that are going on in Olkalau will embarrass them. The people had come out to protest against this government while electing their candidate. That is called the second order rule of by-elections, where people use a low-risk impact election to send a high-impact message to the national government. That is why you see, even in different jurisdictions, presidents are very worried about midterm elections, because what the electorate tells you about your midterms tells you whether you're going to get a second term or not. So this one was a direct message, and they knew, because the script of Mbeere North had been failing. The first thing the people of Olkalau said is that Olkalau is not Mbeere. You will not come with that same script. So when they went into these polling stations and found people, let me tell you, the spectacle of Olkalau has never been seen in this country. When 5 o'clock got there, after our agents, we fought off these masked goons from 2 p.m. At 5 p.m., there were agents of DCP who were locking the polling station with physical chains so that they don't get accessed. Because the access to those polling stations is where Mbeere went wrong the last time. Because people would come with vehicles, identify themselves as government officials, wanapigiwa saluti na maofisa, wanaingia huko alafu wanaambia kila mtu atoke kwa polling station. What do you mean, and how does that affect the verifiability of that election? And let me tell you why this was so important for government to play. Because William Ruto benefited from this kind of narrative in 2021. William Ruto had a candidate in 2021. The popular candidate then was a guy called Karedi Njama. And when he decamped to Jubilee, they found somebody who was working in his office, and they gave him the ticket. And when they gave him the ticket and he won that Kiambaa by-election, they solidified the hustler narrative. If you go back to the 2021 videos and see what the MP for Kiambaa was saying then, Kawanjiko, he had to mention hustler more than 10 times in one video so that it sticks in people's mind. So he understood that if Nyandarua, which was the birthplace of UDA in Rorye, does not give him an MP of UDA now, it has solidified the one-term movement. And that was why you saw that kind of violence in Olkalau. Unprecedented things that even women were on the front lines. Women were the ones questioning police officers, asking them that we know you guys are here to protect us, but can we see what you're carrying? In fact, if you look at the videos online right now, and I hope Owidi is not going to be conveniently blind to those ones because he says he's not seen them. It was women who were doing the searches. Because, okay, fine, if you see young men and you are a bit apprehensive, let the women search you. There is a perception that women will not be automatically aggressive. And let me tell you, the net effect of what happened in Olkalau is very simple, Wayua, is that Kenyans have gotten the blueprint of how William Ruto is going to go home. Because previously, They sent 2,000 cops to Ol Kalou. The population of cops in this country, including those in reserve, is 108,000 police officers. So for you to be able to roll out 1,000 cops in every constituency, you need 330,000 police officers across Kenya. So that is logistically impossible. And people have realized there is a blueprint for waking up early to vote. There is a blueprint for guarding your vote. There is a blueprint for protecting from infiltration in your votes. So people are going to replicate that same narrative in every place that William Ruto is undesirable. And William Ruto will go home because it does not matter. And I keep hearing people saying that there is this cheap narrative that state officials are trying to run, that they allowed DCP to win. There's nothing you can allow. When the DCP candidate got 12,000 votes in the nomination and then ended up with 35,000 votes, you explain that margin for anybody who is allowing anything for anybody. And it tells you a lot about where the heart of the people are. And that blueprint is the one that will send William Ruto home.
Wow.
Wayua, let's just be honest. Ol Kalou cannot be a yardstick of 2027.
Why?
From the history we have, the government candidate never wins in opposition strongholds in any by-election. Starting with Moi. You know, when Moi got to power after the reintroduction of multi-party, he did not have enough MPs. And another problem, he did not want then Jaramogi to be the leader of the opposition. So he went on a spree to buy then for the Kenya MPs, so that to reduce the number, so that the person who is going to oppose him going forward was not Jaramogi. So in South Nyanza alone, then we did not have counties. He bribed MP for Nyatike, crossed. MP for Ndewa, crossed. MP for Migori, crossed. Then there were by-elections. Very closely fought, but all of them were still won by Ford Kenya. And that repeated itself after Moi, during Kibaki, and during Uhuru. So Ol Kalou is not something that was largely unexpected. Ol Kalou was very expected. It was also a research point for William Ruto. Let me tell you one more thing. If you look at all the so-called Mount Kenya counties and add them Meru, Embu, and Tharaka, add them plus Nakuru,
yes,
even though it is largely very mixed, there was a total of cast votes during Ruto of 3.8 million. And when you hear Rigathi Gachagua talk, he says he gave Ruto 4.7 million votes.
No, 3.8. No,
so, when
don't lie to us.
it is okay, you will say it.
But you can't. You must learn how to
the
talk
correct
fast, because people are watching.
My facts are not going to change. If people are watching and they know the figure, they'll tell
So
you.
according to you, it
Facts
was
cannot
3.
be subjective.
They were cast 3.8 million.
And that's what we have been saying.
Or 3.8.
Never
But
said it.
Gachagua has already said it's 4.7.
No.
So, and now he's telling us they will have 8 million votes. And he tells us that Kikuyu alone will bring 5. And then whatever is remaining can only come from a running mate, but he will be the candidate. That is trying to do what is called the bandwagoning effect of propaganda. That, oh, these people are the ones who are going to win, so let me join them. Kenya, if you look at that 3.8 million, what percentage or is that of the votes that were cast?
47%.
38 million is 47%. Fine.
It's 47%.
That is 47% of votes that Ruto got, not that were cast. Yes, that is votes that Ruto got, that was not cast.
Million.
So Kenya is much more bigger than the Mount Kenya. And they must learn that when they talk about Kenya, they mean Migori to Mombasa. If they want to talk, even this Mount Kenya, it is simply a trap to lure everybody to think that the whole of Mount Kenya is Kikuyu. That is also not true. That is why they can win easily in Kalau, but lose badly in Mbere. So, please let me talk. These are my words. Yako utaongea vile unataka.
Wait a minute.
Yes. So they will lose in Mbere. And let me tell you, Even though they go everywhere telling Kenyans how this is now the yardstick for what to expect in 2027, I want to remind you that since the last general election, we have had 10 by-elections, and the government and broad-based has won 9, and the opposition has only won 1.
So why would you? Let me tell you. You see, that narrative. I exist in the online space, and in those online spaces, you hear people peddling a lot of very weak arguments. For example, he's talking about that the candidate for the United Opposition lost badly in Mbeere. The percentage point between them and between the winner and the person who allegedly lost was 1.96%.
Which
it was literally
equivalent
449 votes.
to how many?
449
votes. After stealing the whole night.
Yes. 449.
Hold up. Allow me to correct those facts of yours that are very perceptual to yourself. 86% was what Olkalau gave to the DCP candidate versus 13%. That is what you call losing badly. And he's talking about the fact that the government has won 9 out of 10 by-elections, 5 of which they've competed alone. Anywhere that DCP had a challenger in government, right, against government, DCP has been giving challenges. Let me give you an example, and I will give you classic examples, right? You look at Malava and Mbeere. The margin there was very little between the candidature, right? You look at the Narok Town MCA. There between the winner, who was DCP, and UDA was 11%, was 14 percentage points. You can check these numbers. You go to Kisa East, it was 11.69%. You go to Kariobangi, our candidate got 2,000, the UDA candidate got 955. A 20% gap between them. In West Kabras, where UDA apparently won, the difference, the margin between the UDA candidate and the DCP candidate was 11% as well. So I don't know which losses these are that he's talking about, when in Baringo we did not have a candidate. In Isiolo we did not have a candidate. In, what is it called? This Banisa, we did not have a candidate. So you cannot come and tell us that you are winning in places that we did not field candidates. Who are you competing against?
No, but more important, let's put it this way. And I think, I think these people need to catch up with our thinking. We are a bit ahead. As we are heading to December, don't understand us. I'm struggling. I mean, we are ahead. Yeah, we are ahead. We are January huku sasa tunaelekea August next year. These stories za woku kuliendelea. Let me tell you. The Rigathi Gachagua and the facts are, Mount Kenya gave William Ruto 3.8 million, representing 47% of the total votes he got. The Mount Kenya gave Raila Odinga through Uhuru Kenyatta 1.5 million. The total is 5.3. There are about 2 million from Mount Kenya that never voted. That didn't vote. They didn't find either of them being attractive. That is 7.3. That is a figure.
And now there are 500,000 that have been registered within the Mount Kenya county.
Actually,
so it is 8 million.
8 million. No. Hold on a minute. Now, this story I've heard through, some affordable advisors, Akina Mutai Nguli and him now telling the president, you can win. You can still win 27 without the Mount Kenya. Wait. These are people who eat from the president, and they continue deceiving him. So you are being told, listen, Moi was able to win 92-97 because the constitution was saying simple majority. To become president, he was winning with about 30%. This time round, what we are telling you, this idea that we can, even after winning Olkalau, you can think that you can isolate the mountain. That is why God is good. There's something called coalition, United Alternative Government. We'll come to the table with 80 million. Let me explain to you. Let me tell you.
8 million.
We are coming to the table with 80 plus. The Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is coming to the table with whatever number, 3 million or whatever number. We have Fred Matiang'i with this number. We have the Masai Nation, led by our Senator Seki here. We have Sifuna and Babu Wino and Orengo taking the entire, with Natabea, Wamarua, Marara, taking the entire Western and Nyanza to the table. We have our friends coming from Mijikenda. We have our friends from Northeastern. We have big delegations from Rift Valley. We will come to the table. You will have no choice of talking about tribalism. But let me tell you what has happened. These tiny by-elections you are talking about, all of them you stole. And you have been very happy that you are going to steal Olkalau. Let me tell you what the script was. They were planning to steal Olkalau. Then, to spite the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, they go appoint Eric Wamumbi as a CS. from Madeira to occasion another by-election in
Madeira.
in Wamunyoro's, in his homestead. That is how Pride was talking to them. So when I see congratulatory messages, you cannot plan to kill our people, injure our people, rape our women or Kalao, then you come and do congratulations. We don't need those congratulations. We don't need them. We don't need them at all. From all those guys who are state, you cannot be part of the team doing literally marking boxes, marking barrels. It's only that you are not able to get them in. Then you come to, that's called hypocrisy. But let me tell you the final that I've had. Let me tell you now what's happening. Since that loss, when President Ruto remembers how much 1 billion has gone, and the people who are taking the money with the promise of delivering the seat, none of them, they have not gotten any call from the president so far. All of those two dumb MPs from Mount Kenya, they have not had any call from the president because he is saying that he wants to know what happened to my money. He wants to know where the money went because that was very humiliating.
Did he say so?
Yes, that is what is happening right now. I'm now telling you, fresh stuff. That is what is happening. That's why they lashed to a hotel in Nakuru to say,
make a decision.
A decision. There is no decision. What the panic is that is in the camp of two-term MPs in Mount Kenya is that the president has not talked to them since. None of them. He has not spoken to them because the reality is known to them that every 1 million they were given to go and give, they would give 20% and retain 80%. Otherwise, how can you? I mean, that's another part of going on. So I want to say this. I saw Mutahi Ngugi saying, President, concentrate on Nyanza and Western. Nyanza Western is locked by our generational progressive leaders. The ones I've mentioned in Western and Nyanza. The President Ruto has nowhere to run. Let me give you mathematics. Take the 7 million, remove the 3.8, right? He goes back to 3.5. Tell me where he'll get a block of 3.8 first to replace the vote from Mount Kenya. Then he'll be at equal to be looking for votes to go and get more.
Are you forgetting?
Our mathematics
yes.
is bringing us 15 plus votes. Our pure mathematics. But Kenya and all the communities have done.
What happens to the dual vote? What happens to the cost? Those strongholds of Raila, which are now the ODM
thank
strongholds.
you for the question. Thank you. Raila Odinga, the people of ODM, I'll tell you this today because you can record it. The people of ODM will follow the heart of Sifuna. The heart of Edwin Sifuna. The beauty is Sifuna used to talk about how he is talking when Baba was alive. And Baba would defend him. I can tell you seated here. There are two factions in ODM. The faction that the people, if they want to retain the party, they can go with the name, with the shell. But the people of ODM, as we speak now, from Coast, from wherever, from Masaini, they will end up in the coalition opposition that's going to take William home. I can tell you that. You see the four counties of Nyanza, you see the 5 counties of Western, they are going to speak in one language and they are all going to follow Edwin Sifuna, James Orengo, and all those other people. And then we are going to have Sifuna, and who created Sifuna? Ruto. William Ruto is the one who has created Sifuna, literally. Who has created Gachagua? It is William Ruto, literally. He created the man. I mean, you impeach the man. Did you want the man to go graze in cattle? He had to do a party. And he's one of the most powerful people right now in the opposition. Who has created Sifuna is Ruto by pushing ODM to sack him, to remove him from the party. So by that, he gets a life of his own. Right now he is being called not the SG, but HE. Look at that. It is the President Ruto. When God is done with you, he will cause you to make very many blunders. When God was done with Pharaoh, the Bible says, God is the one who hardened the heart of Pharaoh so he can finish him. That is God. God would have prevented Saul from making the same mistakes instead of making the sacrifice. God would have. He allowed him to do it so that can be his end. I can tell you today. God has departed from the leadership of this government, making obvious blunders so that the people who are not sure how Ruto was are now very sure. The 1.5 million, some of us who voted for him, we are very sure. The people who didn't vote for him, they are still there. The people who had no choice, right now they have a choice. I can tell you this. This country will start strong, will start united. The young people, all religious organizations, People, despite where they come from, religion, race, age, they will come together to send William Ruto home. How? 2002 matrix, where everybody came together. Then they formed a cabinet as representative with all the young people, religious, whatever, all everywhere. And this country is going to work from next year. That one I can tell you. I don't think Owini has anything to say to that. That's a summary.
Will the united opposition go straight to the ballot? Still united?
Let me first of all ask a question. This issue of whether opposition is united or not is a narrative of NIS. I know.
I'm not NIS.
Thank you. I know because I know. I know how government works. I am an expert on political.
I'm just worried.
I'll answer that question. I'm an expert on political communication.
Okay.
I understand government. So I can tell you this. Let me ask you a question of you. Seated here with you.
Yes.
Why do people want a united opposition now? Why? I mean, why? For what? Except for just government trying to infiltrate and cause confusion. We don't want to be united now. We'll be united at the right time. Do you know how the coalition of 2002 was formed? 2 months to the general elections. That is what we are going to do. Let everybody take tea, Matiang'i, Kalonzo, Mother Kango. Let everybody take tea. Let tea continue from Western. Let tea go to Gaza. Let us go to take tea with our cousins in Mijikenda. Oh, we are going to have a lot of tea. People are going to go to Amunyoro. Others are going to come from Northeastern. Oh, Rift Valley is going to go. Let people continue 6 months. In January, we'll begin now sitting down over tea, more weighted tea. Then talk for 2 months. Come on. We are going to announce our candidate in May. 2 months to the general elections. So that there is no infiltration. And I can tell you this, seated here, I'm looking here. Besides being the head of strategy and planning in the DCP, I am in the technical team of the United Opposition, where we plan things and know the timings. I can tell you this. Oh yes, I can repeat this again. God just helped us to overcome one of the biggest hurdles that, Ruto has been president for 31 years. Has never been lost an election. The election in Okalau was between William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. That was sorted. I can tell you it has given one term a very huge momentum that William Ruto can be defeated. That to us is the biggest thing ever that we have scored this year. So it has strengthened DCP stronghold in Mount Kenya, and it has strengthened the Wanda movement, and a demonstration that William Ruto, with all his money and violence and all these kind of things, and talking big and empty promises, he can go home. Okay.
Yes, please.
You know, when you say that the election in Olkalau was between Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, I do agree. What about if that election was in Uasin Gishu? Would we be talking the same thing? Please remember, Olkalau is a Kikuyu constituency, and so we did not expect Ruto to win. So you can, Why don't you let me finish? Even me, I was dying to interrupt, but I said
10 billion and 1 billion cash escorting the 10 billion.
Let me tell you. The United Opposition is sponsored by the richest man in the country, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
We are back to Uhuru again.
No. That is the truth. Even Ruto wasn't there. Don't you see the way your questions are easy to handle?
No, I'm just asking.
The same way you didn't see Ruto there is the same way we didn't see Uhuru there.
But Uhuru is not president.
Sorry?
Uhuru is not president.
Presidents were supposed to go there. I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Then why did
anyway, let me go my thoughts.
Yes.
So what is happening? I have heard by count how Matiang'i would bring, Sifuna would bring. That is the same way Azimio counted in 2022. To their shock, they saw Mudavadi and Wetangula were in with Ruto. And it was too late for them to have a new game plan. Let me tell you something for true. There are people there that are only there because they believe they would be the candidates. And there are also people there that if they miss it this time, their opportunity to be president is gone and gone completely. Do not be cheated that Ruto is the problem. If William Ruto was the problem, the PNU candidate would have not gone 198 votes. They would have not gone. That is their home. That is their community. That is their... Why? So do not be cheated that William Ruto beat so many his party beat so many, all the other parties except DCP.
Let me tell you.
So don't tell, you'll tell. I'll leave you this floor to tell. So do not be cheated that, you see, Kalonzo will come, Rigathi will come. Have you ever asked yourself the explanation why Linda Mwananchi was initially led by Sifuna and Babu, and suddenly they were brought back to the back and then brought Orengo forward? Find out that by yourself soon, and you will know the truth. I can tell you also for free. This united opposition thing is just because they still believe they have a joint enemy. But they also themselves are divided. There is a team that Uhuru built. There's a team that Rigathi Gachagua is building. And none of them want the other. So they can still help each other win elections. Ordinarily, people thought that because Matiang'i is a possible candidate of the coalition and not Rigathi, they would have supported Matiang'i's political party to win in Olkalou, to prepare him for being the presidential candidate for the united opposition. But now he's learning the hard way that Jaramogi made Kenyatta president. As soon as he did so, he was discarded. His son Raila Odinga made Kibaki the president. As soon as he did so, he was discarded. One man called William Ruto made Uhuru Kenyatta the president. As soon as he gave him his second term, he was discarded. But you will hear one man called Rigathi Gachagua tell you that betrayal is a no in my community. Nobody in my community can be forgiven for betraying. They are forgiven Kibaki for betraying Raila. They forgave Jomo Kenyatta for being Jaramogi. They forgave Uhuru Kenyatta for betraying Ruto. And they are busy telling you things that you are expected to believe. These Matiang'is who left their jobs in the US, that Uhuru has told them they are going to be presidential candidates, at a running mate, at a honor. And that is when the bitterness will break out. You see the way Kalonzo is now beginning to think he's being sidelined. And you hear such an old man coming that is saying he's liberating Kenyans. Where was he on safari when Kenya was being captured? Because he's been in this Kenyan government multiple times, including up to DP. So suddenly, when Ruto is the president and is being cheated that he would be the candidate, Kenya is now captured, he wants to liberate it. Karwa is now changing the name of a party to Liberation Party. Because when Kenya is in the hands of another person, other than from the mountain, Kenya is captured and it needs liberation. We are not going to liberate Kenya from a candidate they elected by their own votes. And the constitution says, take 5 years, then we take you to the ballot. But they went to Limuru 3 conference and told the world that Ruto must go home, not in 2027, but now. When they failed to remove him from office, now they are saying, let's wait for 2027. By 2027, every Kenyan from Migori to Mombasa, from Kwale to Todonyang, from Voi to Mandera will have known the conspiracy about leadership in this country. Where Ruto is being told is giving foreigners IDs and passports, when Kibaki, the one they are praising that was the best, gave non-Africans not only passports and IDs, but police ranks. To do what? To do the goon work. Goon work imported. Please tell us the truth, but do not keep us in this circle of we are bad, corrupt. Ruto has never been corrupt. We are still waiting for corruption by Ruto with a name. To an extent that these days they tell us that projects is not development. They want to talk about people being killed, people being abducted. Things that are not verifiable. They are just narratives they have wrapped in until we believe people are being kidnapped, people are being killed, Ruto is corrupt. All those are being wrapped. Like in politics, wrap it to them until they believe it is true.
Let me tell you. You see, I smile at this thing. Like I said at some point when I was discussing, I told you, whenever you talk to anybody from government, there is a script you must always know. There is going to be infiltration, there's going to be tribalism, there's going to be Rigathi Gachagua. Those are their main talking points. It is never anything different. It almost sounds like you're speaking back to a parrot, because it is today, it is the body of Odoye Widi, tomorrow it will be somebody else telling you the same exact thing.
The truth doesn't change.
It doesn't change when it is is from an echo chamber. You see, if you sit down and you keep repeating to yourself that you have become a bad, you will start believing that you are a bad, you and your friends in that room. Let me tell you something about Mount Kenya. What Odoyo does not want to admit is that between 2017 and 2022, the Mount Kenya region experienced an apathy of almost 20%. Jubilee turnout was around 83%, and down to UDA is 66%. You should ask yourself why and contextualize it to your own points. But let me tell you, propaganda is not always about what the content of the propaganda is. Sometimes propaganda is about who benefits most from it. This whole narrative you're hearing them talk about at the United Alternative Government principles are not united is just a clear script to try and hoodwink Kenyans and explain to Kenyans that this United Alternative Government will fall apart before it takes off. And when you look at what people know, this is one of the few coalition building exercises that the end is known. In 2002, they did not know what the end would look like in terms of who the final candidate will be or how the coalition process would be. But this time, when you talk to people, they are telling you, whatever you people do at the United Alternative Government, give us one person. And my principal has been magnanimous enough to even ask the other principals that tell your supporters as well that you want to be president, but when the time comes, you will make the sacrifice that is needed in order to deal with the primary problem, which is the mismanagement of this government. And you will hear Odoyo talk about the fact that every time that you corner Odoyo towards a certain point that is factual, they will tell you are doing it because you are not one of their own. I personally, as a young man, and many people like me, have never benefited directly from just being from a certain region. I have never gotten an extra service because I was from a certain region. But Odoyo here will like to make me believe that me being a Kikuyu gives me an advantage over somebody else who is not. That is the thinking of their generation, not ours. Right now I am interested in the cold hard facts. You are telling me that you are making deals that will affect me when I am 60 years old today. And you want me to be quiet. You're telling me that something that you're calling an infrastructural marvel in a stadium, the principal amount is 45 billion, but interest rates are higher than the principal amount, and you want me to just be comfortable, and I should not talk because if I talk, I am talking because that person is not one of my own. What does even one of my own mean? I usually, when we have these discussions within our generation, we want to ask, what is this one of my own? Right? And allow me to...
Are you saying one of your own, Gen Zs?
I am saying what he is talking about. When he talks about one of your own, he's talking about the fact that we are opposing Ruto because Ruto is not a Kikuyu. I could care less. Ruto himself promised something that he did not deliver. I am only questioning on that promise. In fact, Ruto was on a media station before the election, and he was asked something, and he said, you cannot ask me that, but ask me that when I am president because the buck will stop with me. Now the buck stops with him, and when we ask him, he tells us that he's not one of our own through people like Odoyo Wini. What you hear him say is a consequence of sitting in boardroom politics too long. When you go to the ground and you hear people, if you think Rigathi Gachagua is radical with his pronouncement, you should talk to the local Mwananchi. They will tell you. They are very clear on what they want. In fact, one amazing spectacle that we saw in Olkalau, we used to wonder who are these people that the UDA people are campaigning to. Because when you talk to people, they are telling you, these people are bringing things that belong to us. Where was these things when our late MP, before our late MP had died? And now you want us to vote for you because of them. It is a classic example of what the voter has become today. When he says that Olkalau cannot be used as a yardstick, yet 2 weeks ago, their own campaigners were saying the Olkalau by-election will finish Rigathi Gachagua in the mountain and finish him politically once and for all. And it will dictate the direction of the politics towards 2027. But suddenly now, because they were whitewashed in Olkalau, suddenly it is no longer a direction for 2027. It is called doublespeak. Speak from this end of the mouth when it benefits you, speak against it when it doesn't. And that is the character of the government that we are dealing with right now. And he mentioned one last thing as I finish, about projects versus leadership. Let me tell you, the most important thing that the Mount Kenya voter understands is a leader that represents them. So if you represent them and you sell them out, you automatically become a problem to them. So when they come here in Olkalau and they use 14 billion or 10 billion to try and dangle projects for them, while they feel not represented by this government, whatever you do becomes like singing to the birds. So it's not about projects, is not development. You have to question yourself as a leader. And that is the crux of this discussion today. What kind of leader is William Ruto? That he came into power through the votes of Mount Kenya people largely. And then after that, these same people want him out. He needs to look inside himself. He needs to stare at a mirror before he tells us that we are opposing him because he's not one of our own.
Well, okay. As we wind up, we need to answer this question about what I had talked about when we were starting. That is our main topic because we've talked about a majority of the things that are in that topic. We've just touched them in this discussion. So it's about the broad-based government. When they were coming in, we were expecting more unity, and we also had the issue of reforms. So according to you, do you think the broad-based government is a success or just a failure?
I'll tell you this. Broad-based government came on with 10 points, okay? The cement was 10 points. And I can tell you seated here, out of those 10 points, I think maybe 0.1 because of the time that has passed. I mean, you want to play drama with anything political. You know, political misuse of money, corruption is on the high. Then you pretend that you want to do compensation. Then you go back so that it's not your administration being on check. It's all drama, and I'm looking forward to when we take over government, we are going to see all the list of the people who have been compensated. That's another scandal. It's another scandal. We want to see the list of the people who are compensated. Because, and I'll tell you this, broad-based became broad-based conspiracy. It is what led to mutilating the constitution about oversight by having a the capture of parliament, right? Broad-based has cost people who we thought would really help the people, and that is why ODM is becoming unpopular every day, as it is. ODM as it is today. Every day to its supporters, and they are running to Sifuna because the kind of things that ODM used to talk about and champion. I want to repeat here today, if Raila Odinga was taken out, we are still waiting for more information from Lorengo, Marara knows something, and others. If he was ever, it's because the system could see Raila Odinga will not finish with his government because he is always up for people. That one I can tell you. If, I said if, he was taken out. There are people who got uncomfortable because Raila was like, I'm bidding my time because the 10 points agenda are not being done. So broad-based, the way it is right now, what it was meant to achieve, it will not achieve. It's going to be one of the most embarrassing, experiments, political experiments in the recent times. Because as we speak, President Ruto has intelligence that the Western is talking about ODM. The Nyanza is talking about ODM. Of course, the Uzira is gone. The issue of Mombasa there, all the Mijikendas are now together. The other communities who moved to Mombasa are lining up with their regional kingpins. It's going to be a failure. So broad-based will collapse by December. Anybody remaining broad-based in January, they will leave only a few people around President Ruto. All this, including Owiti. Mark today. Owiti will depart, but today they say they must eat. What happens? You see, they say, when you hear Baba left us in government, what they are saying, he told us we must eat until December this year, so they jump ship in January. Because I can tell you in Nyanza today, 70% of the people in Nyanza, in Western and all those countries, they are 70% one term. That one I can tell you. So broad-based has done nothing. It's just a thing of a few people. And by the way, the people who are shouting broad-based, they must be getting a tender there, either a CS, a PS, a tender here, a member of the board of government. They are the 0.001% of the people who are eating this government. That's why they are saying broad-based, including the ministers. A time will come. I'll tell you how it starts during barriers in Nyanza. You begin hearing, you know now, our 10-point agenda is not being done. That's how they start. They start slowly. When they know now, the people are about to make political decisions for next year. I will tell you this, repeat again. President William Ruto will be left alone with a few people. Mount Kenya people, for example, all those people who have been supporting the president, the fear of Ruto is this guy who knows something. who cannot be defeated is coming down. Many people will depart between now and December. The few who will remain, they will not go back to that government in January. That is how it's going to end, and I'm going to be here because I've studied. I mean, I know the trend. I know what happens. By the way,
okay.
People are not going to come back to this government. And that's the end of it.
Let me mention why I think. One, I do think that the broad base has failed and will continue failing, because the first thing that you need to realize is that it was foundationally wrong from the start. William Ruto, in the beginning, as he began his presidency and his rule over Kenya, he immediately said that there will be no handshake. He will never find himself in a mongrel such as the one that Uhuru left us, where opposition is in government and government is in opposition. And so the formation of broad-based is not because of unifying Kenya. It is because it is a political necessity. And unfortunately, with political necessities, they are guided by interests. And that is why you see even today, the proof is in the pudding that broad-based has failed. Aside from the 10-point agenda, which has not been implemented, we have a commission that is just eating money there. Right? The only thing so far we have seen is the compensation attempt by government. But other than that, everything else on that 10-point agenda has failed. And if you look at what the politics around the broad base right now looks, he's talking about you will start hearing dissent. But it was already started. I think it was today or yesterday when Gladys Wanga said that the reason why government lost in Olkalau is because they are arrogant and they don't listen. Which is constantly something.
Gladys, or is it?
No, sorry, it is Millie Mabona.
Yes,
sorry,
Millie
yes.
Mabona, yes.
Thank you for that correction. When you start to hear statements like that, the politics have already started to be in play within the broad-based government. And I'll give you another example. I was shocked to find out from my own sources that the people who wanted us to win Olkalau, same as us, were people from ODM. And I was continuously curious about why this is. But it is because they wanted to have Olkalau as the rope that they used to hang Deputy President Kithure Kindiki. Because if we win in Olkalau, they have a justification to say this man cannot give you anything in Mount Kenya. It is gone with regard. So put our person as the deputy president in your government. That is what they're angling for. If that doesn't tell you that broad-based is going to collapse as you have been told, then nothing else will. Right now, even there is a narrative that they are saying that William Ruto should just cut his losses and sack the CSs from government, sack the PSs from government, because that is what they want. And that is political machinations as you see it. So other than the fact that functionally it has failed, its initial, the reason why we have Sifuna today doing his political rounds is because the 10-point agenda failed. But as soon as you get out from the functional and you move into the political, then you again see political machinations indicating failure.
Okay.
Wayua, you know, opinion is good, but it has to be defendable. When you say from your own sources, ODM wanted Ruto to lose in Olkalau so that they hang Kindiki, is there anybody in ODM who wants to be DP?
Absolutely, they have said.
No noise, just tell me who.
I mean, Wanga
Okay, you have said it. Now let me pick it. You have said it.
Wanga is waiting for he's just waiting for Kindiki to go down even today. What, you didn't know?
I'm waiting for you to finish. I'm waiting for you to finish exciting yourself about that.
Allow now.
Let me tell you.
Continue.
You have talked like you believe Wanga knows President William Ruto will not win the presidency. Why would she want to stop being governor to go and be a DP for Alusa?
The heat in
anyway,
our governor's seat is already too much.
There is no heat. Who is going to defeat her? That you know. The truth of the matter is there is nobody in Luoland who wants to be the running mate for President William Ruto, including Wanga has said it multiple times. Oburu is not one of them. He has said it multiple times. So don't form narratives because they sound logical. They will not make sense when they are set to scrutiny.
So how should you form narratives if not by logic?
But the party leader said that they will settle for nothing less than
logic is not the narrative. You have to make a narrative which is true. So not all logical narratives are true. So next, Ruto promised no handshake. Let me tell you. Rigathi alisoma Ruto akaona Ruto amekosana na Raila juu ya hizi protests za open the server, sijui masufuria. And he believed now is the time to squeeze Ruto to the last end. I personally went to State House. And then Rigathi Gachagua refused to greet us in State House. I went with President William Ruto to Nyamira. As the president was speaking, Rigathi Gachagua was sitting in his car. And when he was called to come and speak, he spoke and went back to sit down in his car. And he did that in 2 places. And I thought his impeachment was long overdue. But nevertheless, he had believed that he could blackmail William Ruto to give him everything that he wanted. And I also must remind you people that I am not in government. I only happens to believe that President William Ruto...
No, you don't have to.
Please, why don't you make me complete a sentence? Then you can get a full story to respond to.
No, you don't have to. You are in government.
No, he has told you
Okay,
it's not
I am in.
government.
But let me say my version. Niyo yako, keep it and take it home with you. I am not in government. I only happen to believe that President William Ruto is the best thing that ever happened to Kenya since independence. And even you were saying government. You have just told me here I was fired. Now you are in government again. So you also told me that actually Sifuna is Raila and the Luo will follow Sifuna like Raila. Luos, I know they may not be very brilliant community, but at least they are brilliant enough to know that Sifuna is not one of their own. They also know that Sifuna did not obey Raila Odinga, and he was not going to survive if Raila Odinga survived for another 2 months. Raila Odinga was not that person who tells a maid, I will fire you tomorrow, and then tomorrow in morning he packs. No. He will leave you when it is time to go. You don't even have time to collect your belongings from that office. That he did to everybody, including Namwamba and that other guy. So that is what was happening to Sifuna. And let me tell you what you did not know. The ODM members were all being bought. But the only ones who resisted the purchase by Uhuru Kenyatta were those ones who were coming from Luoland because they feared Raila. But before Raila died, Osotsi had already gone, Oparanya had already gone, Sifuna had already gone, Hamisi had already gone. They were already talking a language that was not ODM's language. So that is something that you may not know. When you say ODM is now destroyed and so on, ODM is a party whose leader who assembled it is already dead. Look at other parties like Jubilee, PNU, whose leaders just left the government, and they have already collapsed. So if you expect ODM to be stronger the way Raila was alive, you are not getting it correctly. But I am surprised that it has remained strong this far. Let's just accept that and give it to them. And I tell you, political parties don't vote. People do. Today, and something that I also want to tell you today, the people who used to peddle a long list of 226 Kalenjin members in government were 98% from the mountain. The day I published a list of the same leaders from the mountain who are in government and they became 580, that list disappeared. Today, a person who is as low level as a corporation secretary, number 3 in the hierarchy, has trended since yesterday that a Kalenjin has been appointed a corporation secretary. Honestly, how tribal can people be? And when you look at the social media where it is trending, it is being trended by people from the mountain and some people in Linda Wananchi. Does it mean that Kalenjins do not deserve to get employed in this country because Ruto is the president?
Can I ask you a question?
Wait, you will ask. Today, there are only 2 Kalenjin CSS. Mountain, there are 7. They see nothing wrong with that. They don't touch them. When they come here, it is Murkomen, 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 Murkomen. Murkomen is only 1 Kalenjin plus Chirchir who are in government. Don't you want other Kenyans to also lead? Murkomen has been with us here for a very long time. Until he became the CS Interior, he was a good man. Ruto was a good man until he became president. Not until he became president, until Uhuru got his second term. Please, let us not take people for granted. And when you say that, oh, they are telling, we in the United Opposition are telling these leaders, tell your people that you are going to be the presidential candidate, and then the last minute, when time comes, we will give the person who is appointed. What that statement means is just lie to them that you will be the candidate. That such lies are not good for the people. In the long run, chicken will come home to roost. A time will come when the truth is going to come out, and you people will be exposed for who you are.
I just want to say two things. First of all, when I'm saying you're in government, you don't need, you must not be holding a state position or a public office. There are people who we call affordable bloggers, affordable advisors, affordable political commentators. So we do see where you fall in that.
So if I blog for the government, I'm in government. Then all the
the other issue is
vicariously it means
you keep telling us about 7 CSs. Why do you feel pain?
I'm not feeling pain. I'm just reminding you that you are feeling pain for 2 when you have 7.
Already has gone beyond what he has been saying all along about staying calm. I'm saying, don't tell us you are doing us a favor. You can sack them, by the way. We don't need them.
I didn't appoint them.
Oh, wait a minute. The Mount Kenya people do not. These are your CSs, not our CSs. The same way you appointed your DP and your CSs, we don't need them. President Ruto sacked the ministers that helped him to get power. The people who tell him, excuse me, Mr. President, here they are going wrong. He sacked them to get the Mr. Yes sir and Mrs. Yes sir in CSs and PSs. If you feel they are very big burden, even if you offload them, nobody will go to do demonstrations in Mount Kenya. In any case, you removed chairmen of committees in both National Assembly and Senate, where we know the most powerful positions. As an elected member, as a chairman of the committee, you removed them. So please stop keeping telling us, oh, we have 2 CSs from Rift Valley and 7 from Mount Kenya. Please get them off even tomorrow. We are not going to break a sweat. The Mount Kenya is gone. Even if you supply piped milk in every house in this republic, people are already done.
Yeah, so people of the internet are saying tufunge show. Tumemaliza. But before we do that, of course, we're going to open our phones so that now if you have any question, you have any comment that you need to make, please do so. You can call us in just like 3 minutes and we are going to wind up the show.
Okay. I just want to conclude by saying there's a question that he keeps talking about when people question appointments. I've told you we live in a country that is very trust deficient, not because of tribe, but because of personalities that have continuously mismanaged this country. And let me ask you, one of the situations that caused uproar within the public and caused trust issues within the public was the issue of issuance of IDs in some areas more than others. And we know the whole tribal narrative around that. We know what the propaganda was saying at that time. And people were questioning the appointment not because of tribe, but because of the nefarious intent behind those appointments. So, for example, you'll find that one ministry, somebody is removed and is replaced with a person from a certain community, and it starts to create a certain pattern of alignment towards that particular issue. So, for example, if the minister, for example, is, for lack of a better word, I'll just use the example, the Ministry of Interior, the State Department of Immigration, and the Registrar of Persons. When at the end, the Registrar of Persons is the person in charge of the register of people who exist in this country. One person from a different community is removed and replaced with another person from a different community. That raises the question of what is the intent behind this whole story of IDs here. So you have to always and consistently contextualize your arguments. And the main thing that I see with government arguments is that their arguments continuously lack context. So when people question, they will automatically jump to the tribal argument. They will say that this one has been questioned because it's from a certain community and the other is not. And I beg to differ with that, because that is not the issue. People could care less what tribe a person is if they get the service that they're entitled to as a citizen who pays taxes in this country.
Wow, somebody was calling and we just missed his call. So you can just call again before we wind up. So, Daktari, you have anything to add? Some people are asking, what's your doctorate in?
Thank you so much. I did my first degree at the University of Nairobi, philosophy and political science. I double majored, literally. Many people would do philosophy and political science first year, then they move to other things. I double majored deliberately because I wanted to understand politics and leadership. Then I did my master's in Media and Communication Studies, School of Journalism at the University of Nairobi, and my PhD is on peace and conflict studies.
Okay, let's receive this. Hello. Hello.
Hi, Jambo, how are you?
We good. Who are we speaking to?
This is Nelson. I would like to make one or two comments.
Yes, please.
I think the last speaker has just spoken about context.
Mm-hmm.
And, read 10 by-elections in the last few months, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be delusional to celebrate one by-election out of 10, and I'm talking of parliamentary and senatorial.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine that now that the one win that was achieved yesterday by this, the broader context is that all these 10 by-elections have been in a certain whole country.
Yeah.
And it reflects what the entire country thinks.
Okay.
I think yesterday is a picture within the Mount Kenya region. And I think we need to understand that Kenya is bigger than Mount Kenya region.
Okay.
So as such, let's put things within the right context and know that yesterday's by-election, whereas it was a win for DCP, it's just a reflection of Mount Kenya region.
I think we are losing you, but we got your point. We got your message. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, who are we speaking to and where are you calling from?
Hi, Jambo. Mimi ni Daudi Mkombozi na napiga kutoka mji mkuu wa United Kingdom.
Karibu.
Yeah, and I'm loving the show. And first of all, I want Dr. Mike. I want to tell them congrats for such a humiliating victory against the current regime that's completely trying to destroy Kenya. They put it a huge margin, and I know that sent shockwaves across the country that next year in August we are going to not only send Kasongo home but also to jail. So I want them, when they win, they should not continue saying they're sending him to Sugoi. They need to open investigations on all the pilferage of public resources that has happened, because we saw it crystal clearly. Kalau, the public officials were using government resources, which are obviously taken from places which they're taken from public use, then they're using them to campaign or bribe voters. So when they get into power, they need to open the investigation, and we are wishing them all the best. Then I just want to address the other gentleman. I don't know his name, so apologies for that. The one in glasses. But it's very sad what's happening in Kenya, because the government is allowing literally organized militia to collapse the security of the country, because surely we can't have people with military grade weapons going to intimidate people, because this is voter suppression. And the president has never said anything. He has never said anything about this. And it's very, very sad that this is happening to the country. And I'm very glad that Gachagua, during his press conference, he said that Kenyans have a right to self-defense, and if the government or the state is not going to protect the citizens, it's upon us to guarantee our own security, and we are going to protect our votes if the government is not going to protect the average mwananchi. So I want to tell the gentleman that when he goes and meets the people who sent him there to be regime talking points, he needs to tell them that Kenyans are ready to send the current regime home because they're destroying our country. And if they try to put any coercion or use any, met any violence as citizens, it's provided in the Constitution that we can self-defend ourselves, because we are not going to allow them to use violence to stay in power.
Okay.
Asante sana.
Thank you, Karibu. Yeah, I see so many people are trying to call us. Hello. No, we can't hear you well. I think we are losing you, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, this is Gordon Kachola, and I want to make a few points and observations. One, it is interesting that the DCP or opposition followers are quickly forgetting that with Raila Odinga as the strongest opposition ever seen in this country, won nearly every by-election before any election in this country. Even won a plebiscite over Kibaki's regime, the 2005 referendum. Eventually, we never saw Raila Odinga win any election, despite winning almost every by-election and a plebiscite. It is interesting to see how quickly the DCP people are even forgetting that the very leader they have, their own leader, who told Kenyans that it is impossible to do anything in 5 years as a president. And for anyone to work meaningfully in this country, they need 10 years. What really changed? Was it right when it served them? When they were in power, it was right to have 10 years. When they are out of power, it is good to serve just for 5 years. I always listen and listen keenly. As a foreign policy expert, I always listen and listen keenly to the opposition speaking. They get great platforms, but they never allow any way forward for the country. They will tell you President Ruto is doing shiny things. So today, projects are not development. We have had a Chan Council for Kenya in around 2019. While Uhuru was in power, we could not host a continental tournament because we didn't have stadium. Today we can host, even by ourselves, we can host a continental tournament. In fact, that is not something to brag about because it is Ruto doing it. It's okay if we want to build the Timor bridge, which was supposed to close around that place with traffic. But when Ruto builds this railroad flyover, it is a shiny thing, it's not development. Kenyans will eventually go to the ballot and decide. Remember, we have a presidential candidate and another candidate. We saw them even reducing the election officers who are the police officers, because upon deployment to oversee an election, police officers automatically become electoral officers. So when they blocked these guys, what did we expect? It was so wrong, so dehumanizing to see the population obstruct electoral officers from doing their job. I think when we go to the polls in 2027, I hear one of the judgmen, Dr. is saying that Nyango is 70%. Sometimes you laugh because I remember last when he was even in Kisumu, when he talks to those guys. We know where we've come from as a people. We know what it means to be in opposition, and we have just tested what it means to be in government. Okay. It's made for us to get out of it. Jesus comes.
So, Thank you. I think we need to to stop at that point. So I don't know if there's final
fast.
word is.
I think very fast. Number one.
Yes.
Nobody has said that Kenya is not bigger than Mount Kenya. That's a narrative. that's the stated narratives. We have to continue demolishing them as such and telling people these are narratives created by NIS and state and this government. Nobody said, we know that Mount Kenya is only one part. And that's why we are saying we are moving to a coalition with other parts of the country to move the Kenya forward. That's number one. Number two, I want to say, yes, the Kenyans have demanded, we are not going to let this government go scot-free next year, because they have told us if we do, other presidents will come in future, root, kill people, do everything, and then we say because they have lost elections or they are former heads of state, we let them go. This one, we have to do something about it. And finally, let me tell these people who are saying that opposition used to win by elections and then they lost the general elections, including somebody who said opposition won the Kipipiri 1995, but Moi won or rather stole or whatever he did in 1997. Let me say this. The only one implication Olkalau has to the entire movement of one term is that we have demonstrated Ruto, despite his 1 year of experience, he has lost an election that he had vowed to steal and win by whatever means. That alone is enough. It has given hope that if you can go and put your vote, you protect it, and you tell the results and announce the results before dusk. That was my work at the command center in Olkalau, to make sure the results were released before darkness. We did exactly that. 130 out of 144 stations had results during daylight, and that was it. We did preliminary results, then waiting for from 35A. That one, or that's why Olkalau is important. It has given CDCB foothold and also the one time. And finally, I want to say this, please. Let me tell you where you are. People are boasting here about Talanta Stadium, which is a scandal. I mean, come on. A scandal, a stadium of 42 billion costing 100, we are going to pay back 100. That is left. Look at all the big events. Look at JKA. Look at Bomas. Look at Lilonis Summit. Look at the railway all these are left programs that have been so nothing all. And then let me ask you here finally. This thing taking photos here over this Gong Road overpass. Really? With 20 trillion? That is the only thing that is accomplished, and the experts are already raising questions about the cost. Okay.
Jeff?
Very quickly. For me, I will not belabor the point. I'll just say, if you are thirsty and someone offers you water to drink and tells you, I'll give you water, but then it is a slow-acting poison that will kill you after 1 year, you choose to drink it, you are the fool. That is William Ruto's government. Secondly, a chicken can eat around in all the houses in the village, but it knows exactly where it lays eggs. That is the Olkalau people. So I want to thank the Olkalau people for doing justice and showing the roadmap of how you can beat William Ruto, election fair and square. Thank you.
Senior Odoyo.
Let's just say two things I want to put correctly. There was somebody who called in and said the government is allowing goons to do what? And is out of the country. So I believe he monitored the media. The European ambassadors once monitored the Kenyan media about the disappearance of one man called Yusuf Hussein, an MCA from Wajir. That MCA from Wajir got lost. The media, specifically the Citizen TV, announced a few weeks later that he was found with his eyes gouged out. And they said he had been kidnapped by the government because of a reason which they gave. The European ambassadors went and called a press conference to demand that the government explains. 5 months later, he reappeared and said he wasn't abducted. He was running away from his governor. That embarrassment, that thing caused the ambassadors. They have never spoken about things that they just see in the media. You know, the Kenyan media is misleading the international community because they can only monitor the local media. And people had believed from time immemorial that if you want to know what is happening in Uganda, monitor the local media in Uganda. Kenya has finally proved them wrong. So that gentleman thinking that the government is doing things like that, I'm sorry for him. But when you come and say Talanta is a scandal, there can never be a bigger scandal in this country than the SGR. We will tell you so that we use the same yardstick for all presidents.
Who is running the government?
There is no bigger scandal than the expressway. So do not tell us that Talanta is a scandal. A scandal is a language that the people who don't like President William Ruto use for every one of his projects.
It's okay, Odoyo.
Yes. So let me tell you, that is called gaslighting, trying to make me believe what I'm saying is wrong. It is true, it is correct, it is believable, it is right to say.
Who is in power? Who are we demanding accountability and transparency for? Is it Uhuru Kenyatta or Kibaki or William?
I'm telling you to use the same yardstick. That is all I'm saying.
How?
So because
I don't know.
Whatever it is, do this, make Uhuru Kenyatta president again.
No. Use the same yardstick you used on Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know, but it's the same one that made you believe. No, the one that made you believe his corruption were okay, his lies were okay.
Anyway, we are still paying those debts anyway. They are still part of the debts that we are paying as a country.
Yes, we are still paying those debts.
No, he should table evidence. We have tabled and said.
Any does that?
We took a lot.
Where's the evidence? There ameonyesha hapo na sioni.
It's going to be 100 billion. Talanta is a scandal.
Let me tell you, every construction in this country is a scandal, if that is how we are going to look at it.
Wow. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. I know it's already 10 actually, and we are supposed to end at 9:30. So the conversation, of course, has been heated and quite interesting. So thank you so much, Senior Odoyo, for coming. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Jeff, also for coming. Thank you for your insight. Thank you, Daktari, also for coming. Thank you for your contribution also in this conversation. To the people of the internet, thank you so much for choosing The Political Headache as your podcast tonight. So my name is Trisha Wayua. Until next time, please, if you are not subscribed, do so, and also share this link so that we can have as many people joining this conversation, because it is quite important. Until next time, goodbye for now. Have a good night.
Trizia Wayua. Bye. Now you got.
All right, people of the internet, I hope that you're enjoying this episode very much. And I just had a break to tell you about my new book. You know, everybody says that there is no job, and that is true. Also, that was me 10 years ago. The problem is that everybody is trying to get a job in their town, in their city, in their marketplace. They ask friends for jobs, mothers call uncles, uncles call brothers, but there are no jobs. Let me tell you what no one is telling you. Jobs migrated online. What I actually mean is there are many, many jobs around the world, and there is no one to do them except you. I work for Americans myself. I work for Europeans. I work for the Chinese. I work for the Australians. I work for the Canadians. And so, because I have done so much for myself, I said to myself, you know what? I should compile what I've been doing for the last 15 years. So in 2024, I wrote a digital book called Goldmine 18 Hustles for Africans. And then in 2025, AI came. People say AI is taking away our jobs. And for me, I'm going to say false. There are actually AI jobs. Jobs are not being taken by AI, but there are new jobs online that are there because of AI. Now, mimi ni nani? I created more jobs. And for now, in my new book, we have 25 online and offline jobs that you can leverage on if you do not have a job. So in this powerful volume 2, I share 25 new actionable online hustles specifically researched and tailored for Africans. My new book provides clear step-by-step guidance drawing from my extensive experience and research, including the mistakes I've made and lessons I've learned over the 15 years that I have worked online. So what can you do online? You can become an executive assistant for busy folks in Europe, America, Canada, and get paid for tasks like watching videos and taking online surveys. Okay? You can build a lot of things, build a business as a virtual assistant, start an e-commerce shop without capital, be an affiliate marketer, or you can also become actually an English tutor and tens of AI jobs. If you have a job, that is fine. But I also know that you can buy this book for that brother, for that sister, for that mother, for that cousin, for that husband who is watching Netflix all day at home. Buy it for your friend who is always asking for cash. You know that friend. Now, all the information is on the description below. You can also inbox me, you can WhatsApp me, or go to my website, which is odworjigero.co.ke.